There we go. It took a second for it to figure out what the hell was going on. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Can you hear me now, everybody? Can you hear the guests? Say something, guys.
Hi, everybody.
I can hear me.
Perfect. They're my captives for this evening. This is different. Now it's cool. It is. This is my trash alley. Like usual, I beat up the homeless before I come here. Any of them that put up a good enough fight get to be in the little baggie in front of the dumpster. And the ones that put up, a little too much of a fight, we put them in the bags as separated limbs and potential mulch. And they get to sit on them. It's both comfy and warm. Till the next day, then it's cold and stiff. If you're really lucky, sometimes you get to fuck it. Necrophilia.
Is this alley like haunted?
Well, I mean, did you see the people behind
the
you?
souls of these. Oh, I always assume those are just like
they're crackheads.
Fans of the show.
Yeah. Well,
this is the alley where me and the boys go to. I am looking for beans.
Beans. Yeah, I wish I could do that fucking noise that guy does. And there's that particular TikTok laugh too that kind of sounds like somebody's trying to start up a jet engine, but it's like stuck. So all it is like, and I'm like, what is that laugh? It's horrifying. It sounds terrible. But no. Welcome to Can't Understand Normal Thinking. Or as everybody could probably see on the front of my plywood desk, cunt. The best podcast in this dark alley. There's like 3 more going on right next to us. One of them's the Stephen Colbert Show. Well, I mean, when COVID hit, they're not going to pay for that big. What was it's like the Ed McMahon theater or whatever. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, but anyway, they're not going to pay for that, for the rent on that thing. It's probably like $50,000 a month. So of course he's going to do it in a dark, dingy alley where he only has to fight homeless people for one shred of heroin, so he doesn't have to spend the company's money on the drugs that he uses constantly. Allegedly. Steven, I'm not going to take you to court. But, this is my dark, dreary alley. I see some faces that I haven't seen in a little while popping up in the chat. Apple Alex, Jimmy the Ferret, BK, Evan, Oz, even Oz and Jimothy are in the chat. It's perfect. Hello, everybody.
Whole house.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Yeah, yeah, feel free to drop your link in there too, Jimothy, if you want to. Make sure you give these guys a follow. It's kind of interesting, the age range that we've got going on here. We've got 36, 27, and 19, all of us with very different perspectives of the world. Some of us have masturbated today, some of us have not. So some of us might have that mentality of that post-nut clarity. I am not one of them. I'm filled with piss and vinegar. But yeah, no, today has just been a decent day. It's the day before my vaccine, so tomorrow I'm looking forward to that in like the weirdest way I could possibly look forward to it, because I've got like a little bit of a phobia with needles, but I recognize when I should not be worried about it, and this is one of those times where I think I'm more afraid of the virus than I am of the vaccine. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll take on the minor side effects. I don't care if I get sore arms. Worst case scenario, I don't jack off for a couple days. My penis could use a rest. But
it seems like we're all afraid of needles until we discover heroin.
It's true. You're only afraid.
It's a new relation.
You're only afraid of needles until they give you pure bliss. But yeah, no, it's interesting because, like, for me, I think it was a couple years ago, I finally broke past that weird little shell of mine where if I saw a needle, I'd like freak out. And I kind of remember the reason why I even had that fear in the first place. When I was a kid, I had like, I think it was like 104-degree fever. It was insane. It was really high. And if it went any higher, I would have to be in the hospital like overnight so they could make sure I didn't die. So I went in and I went for this blood test. And I remember it being this incredibly old Asian lady. Incredibly old. Like, she was, if you painted her green, she would look like Yoda's grandmother. That's how old she was. And she just, instead of saying anything, just took my arm, jammed a needle in it, missed the vein, and then just wiggled it around, and it hurt like shit. I was 9 years old, and I remember this being the first time I called somebody a cunt. because I went, "You fucking cunt." And my mom like looked at me and she's like, "Where did you learn that?" And I was like, "South Park." And she's like, "Of course."
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah. And I remember leaving there and I was just like, that fucking hurt. My arm bled for like, I think it was a solid 3 hours before it finally stopped, because she like jammed the needle in 3 or 4 different times. And I was just like, what is this, how this is? And I think in my brain, that's just how it always was. And every time I would get a vaccine or a blood test or anything, my brain went through it and was just like, I don't think I want to deal with that. That sounds this is awful. This is like 18th century medicine type shit. I'm surprised she didn't like try to hit me over the head and tell me that was a cure for a concussion. Like, it was just so backwards to me. And I remember that being the time that I was just like, no, I can't deal with vaccines anymore. But a couple years ago, I got bit by a dog. I still have the scar on my finger. And no, I did not press charges on the dog, and I did not get it put down. It wasn't that bad of a bite, but it was enough where it was just like bleeding. So I was like, I better go to the doctor and make sure I don't need rabies shots or anything like that. And then they were like, nah, you just need a tetanus shot. So I was like, all right, I'll put on my big boy pants and I'll get this tetanus shot. And literally felt nothing. And that could just be because I'm so fat that needle didn't penetrate into my muscle. But I just remember sitting there going, oh, this is what I was a little bitch about for this entire time. Oh man, I wish I could take back the last 15 years of me being a little bitch. I really wish I could. But
when I got my first COVID shot, yeah.
I
was like, oh, okay, well.
I mean, that's what I'm like thinking right now. Like for me, I still have that little bit of a fear in the back of my head. A little bit. It's there because you never know what kind of vaccinator, what do you call those? Needle administrator, nurses, whoever is going to be giving you that needle. The guy who flipped the burgers at McDonald's before COVID started. Whoever it is that they've trained to do it, you never know if you're going to get another one of those people that's just going to be like, all right, jam it in, pull it out, jam it in, pull it out, like factory workers. And I feel like if that were to happen again, I'd probably just be really pissed, and just in my mind, it'll like consciously, I'll be like, this is just like a once in a lifetime thing. You won't run into this guy again. You'll never deal with that again. But my subconscious will be like, you've done this before. Remember when you were 8, you called somebody a cunt. That's what my brain's going to be thinking if it happens again. And don't get me wrong, like I had a friend who had a way worse experience in school vaccinations, which was actually really funny because I think it was grade 6, if I'm remembering correctly. And I had to go with the vaccinations there as well. I don't want measles. I don't want any of that shit. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I don't think it's going to give me autism. If I'm on the spectrum, I was on it from the day I was born. But he went to go get the shot from the nurse, and she forgot to fill the syringe and just stabbed him with an empty syringe. And yeah, let's just say he's alive and well, but let's just say that nurse was not allowed to work anymore, and he got a decent settlement from the school.
I'll bet, yeah. That could have put an air bubble in his blood that could have fucking killed him.
It almost gave him an embolism. Almost.
Yeah.
But they got him to the hospital in time, and they got the air out. I don't know how they do that extraction, but apparently it was just rushed there and they fixed him. Yeah, so I was just like, yeah, that doesn't take away from my fear of needles. Yay!
Yikes.
So that completely compounded on it. But again, because I'm getting my vaccine from somewhere I would assume, like a hospital, I would assume they know what they're doing and they're not going to inject me with a bunch of air. Although according to a lot of people that are like anti-vax and all that, that's better for you than what they're actually injecting you with. But it's like, why? Why are you afraid of the 5G coronavirus vaccine? It doesn't matter if Bill Gates gets to control you. You get 5G. You can connect to the web without your phone. You walk past
I'm Bluetooth enabled?
Do you know how quickly I would accept being Bluetooth enabled? If somebody was just like, here, we're going to put this chip in your butt, but you have to keep it there, but you're Bluetooth enabled. I'd be like, yeah, sure thing. Set me up. I could wirelessly listen to my like porno. I wouldn't even need to wear headphones. I could be sitting in a meeting and nobody would realize what I'm listening to until they like see me bite my lower lip and I go, And then they're just like, Chris, did you get that 5G coronavirus vaccine? Did you get Bluetooth enabled again? Yes.
Again?
They have to keep taking it out of my ass each time. Yeah, like like what the Ash Phoenix is saying, like nanobots. I think that technology would be great. I would definitely be one of those people that would instantly be like, put them in me some way or another. You got to put a needle through my eye to do it. Go for it. I won't feel anything afterwards anyway. You'll be in control of my brain. I'll just be there for the ride. Yeah. You could shoot me and instantly I'd be completely fine. It'd be like living life like Wolverine, but hopefully without all the sadness that he had to deal with. Like he started off as Canadian if it wasn't already bad enough, but then he ended up like being some sort of weapon project. But like I find it funny that he's Canadian even though he's older than Canada. So how does that work? Because like Canada's only about 150. Canada's about 154 years old or something, and Wolverine is like 200 and something years old. So how could he be Canadian if the country didn't exist?
He is Canada. He made it.
He's Justin Trudeau.
If Justin Trudeau was Wolverine, dude, that would be so cool.
Oh, that
like I would be like, we don't even have to elect you. You're just gonna take it. Just have it, man.
And even if you kill me, I'll just grow back.
I think it's that's just where he has his citizenship.
Oh, I thought he was born there. I just like the idea of him being born in like a cave in the middle of Canada, that the country gets founded around him, and they found him, and he was just like ooga booga, because he's just such a weird little gremlin at that point. Like it'd just be so funny. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's like 5'3".
A lot of people forget that he's a little dude because huge jacked man played him for so long.
Oh, yeah. They had to do all those weird camera angles to make him seem smaller. Like there was I think there was a lot of behind the scenes interviews where they were like, yeah, we have to stand on boxes in order to make him look shorter. And there's like this weird camera angle we have to film at all times. And they're like, yeah, the entire movie probably didn't do that great because we had to film this whole movie as if it was The Lord of the Rings. So it just kind of sucked for that regard. But I think they did a pretty decent job making him seem smaller than Hugh Jackman actually was. Because I didn't think Hugh Jackman was 6'2". I thought he was like 5'8" and like, feeling all right.
Oh. No, he's big.
Yeah, big boy.
Huge dude.
I like
so much anger packed into such a tiny little 5'3" package. So much to go around.
Well,
I don't know how. Of course, he's the result of a lab experiment. Like,
no,
that's the only way.
No. He was born with that mutation. When he got the metal implanted on his skeleton
with the adamantium.
Yeah, that was the only thing.
Adamantium, god damn it.
Yeah, I said metal.
Right, otherwise the nerds will find you.
It's true, and then they'll 5G my asshole.
No, they'll take away your Bluetooth.
No!
And they'll give you
they'll give me Bluetooth 2.0. They'll take away my 4.0 and give me 2.0. I only work with computer. Oh no. Oh, I'm so useless. My butthole's only good for anal sex at that point.
I mean, and pooping if you're into that.
Nah. I may be German, but I'm not that kind of German. I still find it funny that the Germans fucking invented Scheisse porn, or at least they claim they did. But then again, I'm pretty sure like back in the Roman times, they probably pooped on each other too, as like a sign of like dominance. It's like, I shit on you, so therefore I'm the master in this master-slave relationship. And the guy who got shit on is just like, oh, we don't have baths. This is awful. What am I supposed to do?
This is permanent.
This is permanent.
I gotta go roll in more shit so I can get rid of this shit. Uh-oh, poor Jimmy.
I'm getting a little... Oh my.
It's breaking news. Jimothy likes to get shit on to express dominance. But then if you like it, does that mean that you're the one expressing dominance by getting shit on, or are you dominant because you're forcing someone to shit on you?
I'm making you do it. So this is not consensual.
Oh, man.
I've never heard of a power bottom into the shitting thing. This is a new one. Jimmy, tell me more about that.
Yeah, I would love to know.
Well, you know, it's normal. It's
normal.
It's how the Reese's got its peanut butter cup. Oh, damn it, Epion. Nobody's forcing anybody to poop on anybody right now. Just not right now. We'll save that for like episode 69 of Can't Understand Normal Thinking. Someone gets shit on it.
Is this show gonna get like worse or better? What's
Both.
the plan?
Oh, both.
Oh.
Both. It getting worse is
better.
what makes it better. It's like that relationship where like you think you can change him for the better, but he'll just hit you and sleep with your friends. That's my show. It's abusive, and it will stay that way.
Where the fuck are those talking points I sent to you a while ago?
Oh, you sent me talking points?
Yeah, like
Today?
2 weeks ago.
Oh,
and then, like, we kept fucking chatting, and so now they're buried under 2 weeks of stupid bullshit that we say to each other.
That's true. But I mean, that's basically my streams in general, so that's not that bad of a thing. At least I'm consistent. Unlike the shit that Jimothy covers himself in.
Sometimes it's runny, sometimes it's corny.
It's all dependent on the mood and the temperature.
Please don't make my one running joke that. Anything but that.
Oh, it's okay. Dude, you could call yourself the Scat Man.
Oh.
Yeah. Beep, ba-da-ba-da-ba.
Oh,
Oh, do you think he ever, like, the actual Scat Man, do you think people ever walked up to him and was just like, so I see you're the Scat, and he's just, I love it! Skibbity-bobbity-bobbity-bobbity. And then they're just like, oh, he's really proud of his love of shit. And then he's just walking down the street.
That's why they call it scat jazz.
Oh, it's because you have to, like, blow into somebody's mouth and cover their asshole to change the tune.
Fuck, I can't find the talking points. We said too much shit. Where the hell are they?
Oh, I don't know. I lose track of pretty much everything in my life. I like the idea of the scat. Like I remember, I was gonna say of the scat and then stop it, but then that would have been terrible. But I remember Game Grumps talking about the Scat Man once, and apparently somebody told Dan it would be really funny to watch him fall down the stairs because all you'd see is him just going all the way down the stairs. And I'm like, it's not something you'll ever see happen, but you can picture it so vividly that it's just like, this is amazing. How is this not an animation? Turns out it is. Found an animation of the Scat Man falling down stairs, and it's everything you want it to be. It's so good. And of course they use the actual dialogue from Scat Man, so it's perfect.
Is it a Pimations?
Maybe. I don't remember the name. I just remember searching Scatman animation tumbling downstairs.
As normal people do.
Well, you don't want to stop at scat on the internet. You're going to end up with a very different search. You got to be as specific as possible when you bring scat into the mix.
It's just basically safe search on or safe search off. It's two separate things there.
Yeah, it's kind of like skeet shooting, right? Like there's the skeet that you shoot with the gun, but then there's the skeet that you shoot from your gun. You know what I mean? Because when you skeet on a lady, that's because you shot.
You who don't know, he's talking about jizz.
Which doesn't mix well with scat. Skeeting and scatting are not two things you want to mix together.
Skeeting and scatting.
Oh, that'll be the name of this episode. Skeeting to scatting.
Skeeting and scatting. There we go.
YouTube bans me immediately from any program.
We did it.
Got me banned immediately. How dare you all?
This is definitely demonetized. If it wasn't already,
joke's on you. I'm not even partnered, so I can't. I have no risk. There's no risk of losing money. I can be as offensive as I want and not have to worry about it.
Not quite.
Not yet.
But
not yet.
Let's not test that tonight.
Let's not test those waters. There's a few things I can say that would immediately get me banned. Is this episode going to be about shit the entire time? I just ate sushi, so I don't know.
I found my talking points.
No, it wasn't going to be about shit the whole time. Dude, if you left me alone in a room for 2 hours, I'm pretty sure I could talk about shit for 2 hours. If my life depended on it, I could easily fill a 2-hour time slot with nothing but scat talk.
I think you can have anything, right?
Huh?
Like if I told you, let's talk about Jurassic Park, you'd probably
Oh,
be like,
easy, easy.
okay,
There's a huge
Dinah's
pile of
full
shit in that too. See, that's where I would take the
Yeah.
scat conversation. Jeff Goldblum looking at scat is what Germany did to scat porn.
Consume
So,
it? What?
No, no, no. Well, no, he didn't. They don't consume this shit. They just cover themselves in it. The German
Oh,
Shiza videos.
I
Yeah, that's the
can't. I
ones.
can't claim to be a senior analyst in this section.
Honestly, BK, if I get canceled for this, they clearly they haven't seen my other streams. Just saying that much. But like Jurassic Park, oh man, I like that as a movie. Like it's not only did it come out the year I was born, but that movie is fucking phenomenal. Even to this day, it holds up. Like that shit is bonkers good. And I remember, wasn't it Mario Brothers was supposed to come out at the same time, and then they kind of used Jurassic Park as the reason for their failure,
yeah.
even though it was because their movie was called Super Mario Bros, but it was basically a cyberpunk like not Back to the Future. It was the like oh what's that one that Harrison Ford was in? It was futuristic. They made a remake of it with Ryan Gosling. I'm spacing on the name. Oh God, I think it's something.
crap.
I didn't even know this was a movie.
Fuck.
Yeah, why can't I think of that now? It's the Blade,
Blade Runner.
Runner.
Yes, thank you, Epiod. Yeah, Blade Runner. That like it was kind of like if Mario Brothers was set in Blade Runner times, and they even made like the weird tortoise people into like these strange lizard dinosaurs with tiny heads that gave me nightmares as a child.
Those
And-
are the Goombas.
Yeah. Oh, those were the Goombas. I thought those were supposed to be the tortoise people.
No, those were Goombas.
What the fuck? That's
Yeah.
even more messed up.
I don't see Bowser in this whole movie.
Bowser was a white dude, wasn't Bowser?
It was
Oh, no.
Dennis Hopper.
No, that was King Koopa.
That's who Bowser is.
Is he called King Koopa? I thought King Koopa was. Oh, that's the old lizard lady.
That's Bowser.
Yeah, that is Bowser. Yeah, they just called him King Koopa.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was
Mario
Dennis Hopper,
World.
and apparently he was drunk almost every night on that set, and so was John Leguizamo and what's the other one's name?
Yeah, big famous guy.
Oh, that's gonna piss me off because he
Framed
is
Roger Rabbit.
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna bug me.
Yep. Crap.
But anyway, they were all drunk on the set. Almost every night. And the worst part was is their set was this giant enclosed, like super heated little area with no air conditioning. So every time you saw somebody sweaty on set, it was because they were legitimately boiling alive in that fucking place. And the directors just didn't give a shit. It was the worst production ever made. But I have like a little bit of respect for that movie because the movie is okay. Like if you don't go into it thinking, oh, this is going to be like the childish Super Mario Bros., it ends up being a decent movie.
Yeah.
But everybody thought it was just a terrible video game adaptation, like Ash was saying.
Because it was.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was that, but as a standalone movie, just call it Super Brothers.
Yeah.
Change their names, and now you're good. That's
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Or just Mario. Just call it Mario. It doesn't have to be Mario Bros. And like, they could have done the same thing that Fifth Element did. It would have been a slightly memorable movie that nobody would have had too many bad things or too many good things to say about it. But John Leguizamo and Dennis Hopper probably wouldn't have considered that their worst movie they ever worked on. But yeah, you were saying you found your talking points earlier.
I did. Let's see here. Oh no, I lost them. All right, I know one of them was rich people.
Ah,
Because
yes.
those are always fun to talk about right now, especially in like the video game industry and whatnot. Like assholes like fucking Bobby Kotick and Andrew Wilson and Yves Guillemot.
Who are these people?
I didn't even recognize
I've never
any
heard
of
of
those
them.
names.
All right, Bobby Kotick is CEO of Activision. Yves
Oh,
Guillemot is CEO of the Assassin's Creed one,
Ubisoft.
Ubisoft, and Andrew Wilson is the CEO of Electronic Arts.
Oh God, you brought up like every worst CEO you could have.
Yeah.
Jesus, I just want to go back to quickly what Ash was saying. How dare I with Fifth Element? Because it wasn't as memorable as Demolition Man was. Demolition Man destroyed Fifth Element in my mind. Don't get me wrong, still a good movie, just not as good as some of the
Yeah,
other
but there's
80s
like
ones.
5 years between those movies.
Yeah, but I wasn't alive for either of them, so I watched them at the same time.
I don't like when you say shit like that.
I,
BK 4151. Ouch.
I don't really know how to
It's a
explain
movie.
that movie, really.
It's a French movie. That's why it's weird like it is. That's French cinema.
Is that really why it ended
That's
up being
yeah,
such an
that
odd movie?
that's why
Oh.
it's got those weird quirks. That is French cinema,
Oh,
but
that
made
explains a
in
lot.
Hollywood. Yeah.
Oh, that explains so much. Huh.
It's good
French
though. I love
cinema's
that movie.
weird.
Love that movie.
It is a weird movie, but it is a good movie, too.
It,
Um,
it's really quotable. It's got a lot of fun stuff. It's probably, I don't think it's going to be a lot of people's absolute favorite movie, but it's a lot of people's in their top tier of like, oh man, I'll definitely rewatch that movie.
it's 100% worth watching. If you
Oh
have
yeah,
not seen it, definitely go watch it. And I will say the same thing about Demolition Man too. That is if you have not watched any 80s action horror action movie, Demolition Man is fucking worth it. You hear that,
The Fifth
Jimothy?
Element is good because that
Have you ever
was when
seen
Bruce
Running
Willis
Man?
still gave a shit.
Mm-hmm.
I love that movie. It's so weird, but
Sorry.
it's like so 80s.
Sorry to cut you off before we get into Running Man. You're right. That was when Bruce Willis actually still did care about his fucking career. Like recently, he just takes anything that has a big enough paycheck. I saw him in some garbage like straight to DVD Die Hard ripoff where he plays the bad guy, and there was like a 5-minute scene where he's in it and he's on the phone and he's just like, "Yo, okay," and then hung up phone and then leaves, and I'm like, "What? That's the big bad guy?"
He's in Nicolas Cage mode.
Well, yeah, but just not to the same extent as Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is making his career off of being batshit crazy, whereas Bruce Willis doesn't need to work. I think he just wants to leave the house so he doesn't have to see his daughters get a boyfriend or some shit. Like, that's all I think it is. He's worth $170 million. He doesn't need to do any work. But Running Man, that is a good movie. I haven't seen it in so long, but it is a really good movie.
Yeah, it's weird. I watched some like TV show, like one of those trashy. You know how they just come up with any old like game show they can now?
Yes.
There's this trash one, and it was where these guys run through this little obstacle course and then up this little mountain, and there's these weirdly dressed, like it almost remind me of like wrestling characters. They're called like the Hunters or something, and they just chase after them and like pull like little like you ever played like flag football? Little football flags off of them. And it's like, oh, if they reach up there in enough time, like they win and stuff. And it was just like, this sucks so bad. Why can't we just evolve to that point now in our game shows? We don't have to watch like The Masked Singer and stuff. And from what I understand, you guys in Canada have like even worse TV than we do.
Our game shows are trash. We need to follow Japan for their game shows. There's a game show, I shit you not, that I have watched thoroughly of it's a competition. Give me 1 sec here. I'm curious about what Epion is saying about the shooting of the gunpowder. What movie was that they were doing that? And they're gonna do a remake of Hidden Temple for adults, like the porn parody. Ooh. Or like are we talking porn parody?
Nickelodeon. That'd be great.
Oh,
That'd be great.
I just instantly pictured it being like Hidden Temple, and it's just like some pharaoh-looking lady just with her legs spread, and Indiana Jones is holding his whip. You know, Hidden Temple, the porn parody, Indiana Bones. Anyway,
not that kind of made for adults.
Yeah, I get that.
The not made for kids thing.
Yeah, that makes more sense now that I reread that. Oh, and Demolition Man, that's what they did. Oh, that's pretty cool. What was I talking about before? Well, there was a movie I was going to go off on a tangent about.
Japanese game shows.
Oh, Japanese game shows. That's what it is. Yes. Okay. So there's a few Japanese game shows that I've watched where
There's a lot of them.
there is tons of them, but there's only a few that deal with what I watched. And it's contestants from the audience go on stage and they're given a beautiful woman. And the beautiful woman just proceeds to blow them on stage. And whoever comes first doesn't end up going to the next round. Whoever comes goes to the next round. Then the next round is hand jobs. And it's one guy versus another guy.
Real?
This is
I don't
real.
believe you.
I have masturbated to it, so it is
damn.
real. My neighbors are learning a whole lot more about me than I thought they were
34 is
expecting.
in effect.
But it is a real game show. I don't know what channels they're on in Japan, but I can tell you this: the announcers are really into it, and they are like you know how you watch like wrestling, and they're always just like super over the top screaming, or like shoutcasters from Call of Duty and League of Legends. That's what those guys were doing while those guys are getting blown. It's real. He's seen it. Clyde showed it to him.
Evan, you need to tell him you're not old enough to be looking at that.
It's so funny because like the shoutcasters are just like, oh my god, here come, oh, he finisher, and I'm just like, this is a game show? You've got to be kidding me. And then like the third round is like just full on sex on stage, and it's hilarious because everybody in the crowd's cheering, the women are screaming, the announcers are like, ah, and the guy's just like, ah, trying his best not to come. It's so great.
So what's the prize?
I think it's the fact that you got to sleep with beautiful women and $5,000.
Well, okay, 5,000. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Because
but
I can imagine going back home and
Fucking
my
kids
mom
these
just
days,
like,
it's like, okay, so what did they win? It's like, Jesus, well, you're not listening to the rest of the
I
show.
saw you on the television, sweetheart.
You made me proud. You're just like your father. He doesn't come nearly as quickly either. Speaking of which, hand me one of those lozenges.
Grandma, no! Grandma! It's one of those days that those women are going to be grandmothers one day. And those contestants are going to be grandparents one day. And I can see them sitting there and they're like, game shows in my day were quite a bit different than yours are now. I don't watch some 10-year-old jacking off to Fortnite. But there was this one time I won $5,000 because I lasted 5 minutes while a beautiful woman blew me. Grandpa, I don't want to hear about that.
It's why you're here. She forgot to put the condom on.
Oh no.
Oh, no, it's-
I'm like halfway between laughing and crying, just like, oh,
that's
this
my
is
sex
so
life.
tragic.
But I love Japan because they just take everything that I think of and they just make it into something real. Like you would expect me to
Better
tell you
or
something
worse.
like that. They're just like, oh, that's got to be some sort of anime. No, you can apply to be on that show still. It's still a thing.
It's the sort of stuff they just like. They just ask random people off the streets, like, "Hey, what would you like to see? I'll give you $1 if you give me any idea." And they're just like, "How about this? What slippery stairs? Anything injury prone? Literally like Wipeout, but 3 times as dangerous."
They have that.
Syndicated.
They have
I
that.
know they do.
That show's amazing. I love that show.
Which one?
Oh, I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically just Wipeout, but very Japanese.
They're like the really old one?
Yeah,
Or
like from the
really
80s or
Yeah,
like
To
early
Catch a
90s.
Castle.
Like,
Yeah, that one.
instead of having
Yeah, they
fake
call it
stepping
MXC
stone
over here.
rocks.
Ah, that's it. MXC.
Most extreme elimination challenge.
That one's. If they brought that to Canada, I'd apply for it immediately. As long as they kept the same Japanese hosts. Those hosts are fucking goofy, and I love it.
Well, a lot of what makes it goofy is the fake dubbing that we give them over here.
True, but it wouldn't work as well with white people. If you had a white judge and you dubbed over them, it would just look like the audio's out of sync. As racist as that sounds, Twitch, but it's fair. I don't immediately see a Japanese show that's known for being Japanese with white people as hosts with it being poorly dubbed and think, those white people must be really fluent in Japanese. I think, those white people are just out of sync. Isn't that how they did all those like parody Chinese karate films too? Like they just off-synced the audio from all the main characters so it looked like it was being poorly dubbed over. Like what was that one? Kung Pao. Kung Pao, that's the one. The one that had the Mexican guy playing the Japanese guy who was a karate master.
Well, what it was his dub lines were different from his regular lines. So he would like read the line, but like a few keywords would be like different.
Oh,
So
that's how
when
they
they
did it.
overlaid he'd be like saying one thing, but actually dubbed over with something else.
That explains why they did it that way.
Yeah, what's the making of that movie? Back when I was a wee lad, I was like way into like the making of movies and special effects and stuff like that, and that is what I wanted my career to be. But then, like everything just became CG, and that whole career option just kind of dried up.
Yeah, it's hard to believe they actually found a cow that knew enough karate to fight him on set. In Kung Pao when he's fighting the cow. That was a good scene. I remember as a kid being like, wow, how'd they find a cow that knew karate? Because I was fucking 6 years old and retarded.
That was one of, I think it was a contractual obligation that any movies made within like the next 5 years after The Matrix had to have one Matrix spoof scene in it.
Yeah, that explains a lot.
Because they all had them.
Actually, yeah. Even the ones that were serious too. Like the serious movies had them too. And that was the part that made them so weird and awkward. Was I remember watching a couple films and being like, does this suit this? Is this just Matrix? What is this? But the comedies, they're perfect. It's always fun timing. Ah, that was a good tangent. Okay, so you wanted to talk about rich people?
Did I?
Yeah, at some point.
I did. I mean, that was just one of my talking points. Like, I'm not sure how the mega wealthy work up there in Canada, but Jesus Christ, down here they suck.
All the mega wealthy that live here typically move to America. So I don't think we have too many people that are just
Well, yeah,
like,
we're not going to make
we're
them pay taxes
billionaires."
down here.
Yeah, that's the weird part. Is like that we're like Canada's completely okay with it. Like I think in America, if you're a citizen there, you can't own property in Canada. No, it's the other way around. If you're a citizen in Canada, you can't own property in America, but you can still own property up in Canada. So a lot of the rich people that live here will buy up a bunch of property, then just move to America so they don't have to pay as much taxes. That's why our property is so fucked and why everything here is so expensive, because I think it was like more than 60% of the real estate that's owned in Canada is actually owned by China, because our government allowed foreign buyers to purchase up all of our land. And instead of, fixing that like they could, Justin Trudeau is instead sucking President Xi Jinping's penis or whatever, and letting it still happen. You hear that, Trudeau? I'll let you suck my cock if you actually give me a house. Give us some healthcare that isn't too overpriced, or houses that are reasonably priced. Maybe I won't butt fuck you so hard. Maybe I won't run for I should run for prime minister. I'll fucking destroy this place. Canada won't even know what the hell hit them. They'd be like, oh, so this is what it actually looks like when a leader doesn't just sit on his ass all day counting how much money he's making and stealing from the citizens. It doesn't look like a hard job either. Look at Trudeau. The dude goes on camera once a week and is just like, COVID is bad. Get vaccines. I got mine. And there's his $400,000 check.
9/11 was bad.
9/11 was an inside job. Calling it right now.
Calling it like 20 years after it happened.
Yep, calling it now.
Just saying.
George Bush should be in prison for the fact that he probably set it all up, because George Bush wanted oil. He probably paid like 2 American dudes to pretend, like, put on brown face and like go on a plane and go with like the most Iraqi names he could. And then he just crashed them into the building. There's probably like 3 people that are pissed off that I said that. They're going to be even more pissed off when I say that he's responsible for the deaths of all those Americans and hundreds and thousands of more Middle Easterners, and should be tried for treason and war crimes. But he never will, because he's a president.
Speaking of tried for treason,
if you're going to ask
going back to the other topic of these rich people, I personally think that the siphoning of American money and putting it like in offshore accounts and stuff, that seems to me like that's, theft.
Oh, that's
taking America, like, how come that's just, fine?
because it benefits the politicians and the rich. If it didn't benefit like the president of the United States, he'd probably be like, on second thought, let's make that illegal. But because most presidents have their own offshore accounts, they're just like, let's make it 3 times more legal. And in fact, if you have offshore accounts, you get tax benefits and no prison time ever. Never, ever. Because the offshore accounts are cool. And then everybody... Yeah, and then like everybody who's got an offshore account is either in politics or a billionaire. So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, let's keep them rich. Let's keep it so that they can do whatever they want on the Cayman Islands. Do you think if like in the 90s somebody just started calling it like the Gay Man Islands, that like billionaires would be like, I'm straight though, and then they would like take all their money out because they're all superficial like that? Who puts their money in the Gay Man Islands? Fucking gay man.
Because they're all superficial like that.
I can't name one billionaire who isn't superficial. Like even Mark Zuckerberg, as little as he tries, he's superficial, but he's also autistic. So it's hard for him to like translate his superficialness. Like
Is he actually autistic?
Probably. I mean, he's definitely not normal.
Probably.
I mean, look at him. He's.
Could
Have
just
you
be an
seen him?
alien or
Have you
something.
seen? Yeah, like that's more
I
reasonable.
have seen him. I have seen him.
He's on some sort of spectrum. I don't know if it's rainbow, black and white, or autistic, but he's on one of those spectrums, and he is not. He's just as superficial as every other billionaire who could formulate a sentence and still seem human.
Or maybe he's just the realest one of us all.
Human.
He's the only one who's embraced his
They
inner
really-
lizard
yeah.
person.
Elon Musk, though, he said he has Asperger's.
He's got Asperger's, yeah.
And I was
but-
like, oh, okay.
I haven't heard that. Really?
Yeah, he said it on
Yeah, he said
SNL.
it,
He
which
did
I
it in
wish I
such
hadn't
a
watched.
It was, yeah, that was an awful episode, but he did it in such a
was
weird way. Like you could tell he wanted to say it, but he didn't know how to introduce the fact that he had Asperger's when he could have literally just said, I have Asperger's. He went, and I am the first host of SNL to ever have Asperger's. And everybody's sitting there. They're just like, do we clap? Like, is that something that we should be clapping? It's just dead silence. It's the most awkward thing. And then he's just like, he talks about how he's always been like super awkward and shit like that. And I'm like, yeah, you have Asperger's. Like, no shit. Fucking House had Asperger's and he saved lives. Elon Musk has Asperger's and he tanked Dogecoin. And that's going to be the only thing he's remembered for is Tesla and Dogecoin.
I don't remember he shot that car into space that one time, too.
Yeah, but I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
just
that was to get laid. There's no way that was for anything other than to get laid. Like, could you imagine going up to the bar and you're just like, I shot a Tesla into space. That lady's going to be there and be like, oh, you're either really rich or a criminal. Either way, let's fuck. Because women are superficial that way. But yeah, no, the Elon Musk thing. I can't believe they did a Wario skit. A fucking Wario skit. And it was trash. And I think that's the one abortion everybody wishes was had. Like a close second to Hitler.
He may be good at being rich, but he's not a good actor. He's just always him.
Well, I
just
mean, that's
like,
what
oh,
Asperger's
there's-
is all about. He has a hard enough time being himself. Do you think he's going to have an easy time being someone else? That's the way I look at it. Like, for me, I have an easy time being myself, but I could also be other people. That's why people think I could be a decent serial killer. You hear that, police? Check my backyard. I don't have a backyard.
Look at this alley.
I mean, don't look at the alley. Don't look at the alley. That's a rug in that bag. A rug that talked back too much.
This thing I'm sitting on is definitely a desk chair.
You just see Jimothy's character get up. There's just a finger sticking straight up into his butthole. It's what keeps you secure. Secure to the trash bag.
So you don't just slide off.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Okay. So speaking of rich people, I remember. Okay. Do either of you know of Wings of Redemption?
No.
Too much.
Too much? Okay. Well, then I could do a brief summary. So Wings of Redemption is a Twitch streamer who's had an extremely toxic past and is known for subtle racism as well as just saying the N-word blatantly. And his stance on rich people is that there should be no such thing as a billionaire. And to some extent, I agree. But I just don't think there should be people that have $180 billion to their name. I don't even think some people should have like 50 billion.
Wealth cap. We need one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wealth cap for sure. And like, I get where he was coming from when he said it, but he said it in such a way that it made no sense because he didn't really elaborate. He was just like, yeah, there shouldn't be anything in the world called a billionaire. And I was like, I mean, yeah, that's kind of true, but at the same time, I still think there should be people that could have between 1 and 5 billion, because then they could even use that wealth to make foundations, make new companies, and not have to take out loans and loans and loans to do it. So, like, I think there should be a wealth cap to probably about 5 to 10 billion, in that range. And then the wealth cap after that, like everything after that, is either extremely high taxed or it is forfeited or has to be reinvested into jobs. It's something like, not forfeited. Nobody's going to forfeit the money.
Put it back in.
Yeah.
You know, this trickle down effect that they kept teasing us with. How about we actually, you know, make that happen?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's where I think that it should be. Like, once you've hit that net worth of $10 billion, everything after that has to be reinvested into either a community, real estate, jobs, stuff like that, just so that it keeps everything moving and in a momentum.
Evan made a great point here. He said, what about trying to start something on the size of Tesla or SpaceX? I do not believe space should be a rich white man's toy. That should be government. So I'm okay with them not starting that, personally.
Actually, I want to go back, because I think he's saying, like, about what I was saying, where you would have enough money to start certain businesses like that. Well, Tesla started at about 300 million as their investment to create and do what they were doing, right? So I don't think they would need more than 5 to 10 billion dollars of their own money, because 10% of that wealth could make a company like SpaceX or a company like Tesla or Ford from the ground up, no problem. And then especially if they bring in more investors and so on, and they just keep reinvesting it, everything would grow to such an exponential rate. Like, look at Jeff Bezos, for instance. If his wealth cap was at $10 billion, he could still own everything that he owns. He could still pay his alimony and all that shit. And if he reinvested that 190 extra billion dollars back into Amazon for jobs or a new company, that's thousands, like almost 160,000 jobs right in the palm of his hands that he could make from the new companies that he creates. So having that wealth cap would actually be super beneficial for the world. But because of our innate need for greed, no matter the fact that this family has, like Bezos, for instance, he's worth $200 billion. His entire family wouldn't be able to go through that in 2 million years, because it would still exponentially grow and keep going. He's at the point where there is no down for him. He could leave it in the bank and he would be making millions of dollars a month off just interest. So the thing is once you hit that 10 billion mark, it's kind of the same idea. Just reinvest. Make it so that the world could be a better place. But they're not going to do it, because they like seeing those 9 zeros.
I don't understand what they're doing with all this money. And it's because, and they're like, they don't understand the same problems that like real people actually have. I have this this vision that if I ruled the world and I fixed things, I'd take all these like greedy rich motherfuckers and I'd make like a town just for them, where like they all have to like bunk up like 3 people to a 2-bedroom apartment. They only have 1 car to share between them. They can only get dead-end jobs, and no matter how much money they're making, there's always 1 bill per month that they all can't pay, and they all have to pay for like medication, because that's what millions and millions of people have to live like every day. So it's like, hey, how about you try it out for a while? We got people that have lived like this for 20 years.
See, you're too nice to them. I'd make them open an OnlyFans.
At OnlyFans, they still make money.
But they can only use the money they got off OnlyFans. They can only use the money they get off OnlyFans. The rest of the money goes back into businesses. They got to live in that town for a year. Only OnlyFans money. Jeff Bezos getting $100 for a quickie in the alley.
Yeah, I like Ash's point. Go medieval on them, because that's back in the day. You know, when you didn't like your king and they were being shitty like that, you would just go and kill your king and then get a new king and try again.
That's true. I mean, I'm pretty sure if one of us started a cult, I feel like I confidently could start a cult to the point where I could get a lot of people together and in on this. I know it sounds like I'm trying to plot this assassination of billionaires, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying I have that skill that I can do that. I'm not necessarily going to do that, especially if Bezo gives me Twitch partnership. Bezo, you want to slip me that contract? This is when I get an email telling me I'm banned from Twitch. Damn it. The exact opposite effect had been happening. But yeah, rich people it bothers me because I have family in Germany that is extremely wealthy. Like, almost as wealthy as a lot of these people. And it bothers me because, considering he's my father, he could have taken care of my life super easily. He could have written one check and I'd have been set for life. But he chooses not to for some reason. Instead, he spoils my half-brother and half-sister. So, totally don't have a chip on my shoulder from that one. But, big but here. I turned out more normal than if I were to have had that happen to me. I feel like because I didn't have that silver spoon shoved straight up my ass and coming out my mouth, that I'm more personable. I feel like my personality is more tolerable, whereas I've seen that side of my family. Oh, you're muted. Or maybe you weren't muted. I don't know. I didn't pick up when you were talking. Oh, there you go.
I said I'm switching to my headphones.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, like, they're very wealthy, but I've seen their attitudes. Their attitudes are pretty much exactly what you would expect the stereotypical billionaire family to be like. And I don't like it. They're so cold. They're very conniving. They're always trying to plot something. And meanwhile, I'm just sitting here and I'm just like eating a bag of chips, stoned out of my mind, watching that 70s show, being like, man, I love this show. It's so good. They couldn't have fun like that. They'd be too worried about their image or too busy trying to steal money from a homeless guy that asked them for a 20. You know, that's the type of people they are. They're like Cruella de Vil, but an entire family of them. It's awful. And for some reason, like, even if I were to become a millionaire, let's say hypothetically, I think I would raise my kids still the same way I was raised. Because I would want them to be civilized, a normal person, or not even normal, but have empathy and understand where others come from, versus just giving them my wallet and being like, can you just not cry in front of me? I have a business meeting. You're just kind of an annoyance. I wish that I had an abortion. Like that's how I feel most of these rich families treat their kids. And that's why we get those fucked up, like, little trust fund kids that end up going on drinking sprees that end up killing somebody and having to hide the body. And then the lawyers you've seen the shows, you've seen the movies where that shit happens. And the reason it's a movie is because that shit's a stereotype. That shit happens because they either overdose on drugs, or they get a drinking problem, or they abuse their family or friends or loved ones just because they were never given the love that they would have received if their family was poor, for instance. That being said, a lot of poor families are still shit too. But I think there's a lot more good, like, percentage-wise, there's a lot more good poor families than there are good rich families. Because I don't think I've ever seen a rich family where I'm just like, man, they're so loving. They have, like, such a great relationship. Look at those kids. They're having fun. They're empathetic to everybody. They're sympathetic to everybody. They're not well balanced. I can't say I've ever seen a family that's super rich. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it depends on, like, were your parents or your dad, was he born into that wealth and
Yes.
that's all he knew? Okay. So you were apparently not born into that, and you're where you are, so you grew up completely not part of that. That's why you have this empathy.
Exactly.
He didn't have to. He doesn't have. He's got enough money. He doesn't have to know empathy.
That's my point. That's my point, is, like, rich people have a tendency. I just want to clarify with Evan. Yes, I know there's a lot of rich people in Whistler, Evan, but I'm talking billionaire rich. Not like they have a couple $1 million and they're set for the rest of their lives kind of thing. Those people are still cool. Like, you could be a millionaire and be set for life and still have enough to make sure that your kids aren't going to have troubles in their life. But when you've reached that billionaire status, there's a lot. Well, again, Evan, I'm not sure. I'm sure you're right. You've probably met some billionaires that are cool. But the thing is what happens behind the cameras, like, or behind being in public. More often than not, they're typically very cold.
Old money billionaires.
Yeah, old money billionaires. The new ones I'm not too sure about. I'm talking like people who became billionaires. You are the billionaire, Evan? I wish. Then I'd be your sugar baby. I'd let you take me out. But like the old money ones, they're the ones that are particularly sour. Like there's just something about them that really like curdles my milk, and I don't understand why.
It's because they're not human. They don't understand what it means to actually be human. They have no struggle, no like they can't comprehend. They can't understand normal thinking.
Ah, it's full circle.
That's why they call it that.
Oh wow, that's why I'm a cunt.
They said the name of the movie in the movie.
Oh whoa. Yeah, see, that's what I was saying too, Ash. But I was saying that the percentage wise for like normal, empathetic, fun loving families is a much higher percentage in the middle class to poor range than it is in the super rich. I feel like the super rich have a lot more problems dealing with empathy and just overall normal human emotions is what I'm going with.
Yeah, because they don't have to.
Mm-hmm. They could pay somebody else for that. You feel angry for me. Here's $100. Yeah, I'll go beat up a homeless man. Thank you. But like,
I mean, one thing to be happy about is like in the US, I mean, all of like the prolific billionaires that I think of in the US are like first generation billionaires. So I feel like at least in that sense, we've got something going for us where it's like, I've got a friend who lives in Saudi Arabia and it's like all the royals over there. They're just stinking rich. They're crazy rich. They are not going anywhere. And they're just, every generation gets worse and more spoiled.
Well, I think for me, like, old money billionaires, a lot of them are dead, and a lot of them aren't from America. Like, of course, you've got Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Those billionaire families are
The
old
Koch
money.
brothers.
Yeah, the Ford people, everybody who made all the cars back in the early 1900s and shit like that. They're all billionaires. They're old money. But America is too young to really have too much old money. Because America was formed in the 1760s, if I'm not mistaken. I might be a little off.
Baby.
Is it 1776? Okay, well, I was close. Considering I don't live in 1970s. The fight for the Vietnam War was whether or not they could become America.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the thing is, 1776 as a country, that's still so young compared to Europe and the Chinese Empire and like Japan and all that. They've all been around for thousands of years. So when you look at Europe, they're like the royal family, for instance, they're old money. And honestly, they're not even that rich. It's just the government pays for everything for them. So technically, the royal family isn't even rich. The government just supplies them with everything they need to stay looking rich, which is super weird. Yeah, Swiss bank old money is a good way to put it, Evan. That's actually probably the perfect way of putting it, is Swiss bank, because now new money always goes Cayman Islands. Old money is Swiss banks. New money is Cayman Islands. It's a perfect balance. But yeah, like for me, so I guess I should elaborate a little bit on why I wasn't raised with that silver spoon in my ass. So when I was 11 months old, I was born in Germany. I lived there for the first year of my life. Let's say I was a year when I moved away there. My father and his side of the family is not great. Like they're what I was saying earlier, where they don't have the empathetic side of things. So they're cold, calculated. They do what they need to do to make sure that they continue going further and further. And it basically just led to my mom fleeing Germany and bringing me to Canada. And from then on, I was surrounded by a loving family. We weren't rich by any means. We were poor. We were very poor. But it gave me an understanding and an appreciation for so many of the things that I have in my life, whether material or not. Even if it's just like being around family or just having a nice conversation with them, it hits me a lot more Or it's more impactful than, let's say, if I was raised by that family and I came over here to visit and have a conversation, because I would just be thinking time is money. Whereas here I'm thinking, who needs money when you've got family? And that's just kind of how it's always been for me. So when I see people like my father's side of the family, it just kind of irks me that they're willing to be so cold, especially to people that they considered loved ones and stuff like that. Because yes, they'll even say to me like, come on over, come see us, come visit. And I'm thinking to myself, do I really want to? Like, do I want to surround myself with that toxicity? I mean, sure, I might visit one day before my grandfather and my grandmother pass away, but I don't know. It's not something that would make me go there more than if he was like a middle class business guy who probably spends a lot of time with his kids and built that rapport with them. He never did that. So I could see why majority, like my half brother and half sister, they're not very fond of him either, right? So it's just that side of the family the way they are. And for the first time in about 20 years, I saw him a couple years ago. And of course, even though I hate the guy, brought tears to my eyes. It was the first time I've seen him in 2 decades, right? So of course it was going to be emotional. And when he saw me, he wasn't at all. He didn't even smirk, no smile, nothing. And that's what made me realize what type of personality he has. So that's why I have probably an even bigger stick up my ass when it comes to rich people, because I see so much of them in my father that it's just like, nah, I don't like it. And if I ever got to that point, I don't think I would use the money just for myself. I think I would use it for my family. I'd help my friends out. I'd start businesses. I wouldn't be that type that just keeps it for myself. There's no fun in it. What am I going to do when I'm 90 years old and have $100 million in the bank? Am I going to go on a 5-year hooker and blow spree? I don't think so. So I don't know. I just got a weird opinion about rich people because of that.
What about you, Jimothy?
Is your dad rich and where does he live?
No, I mean, I've never lived in like a rough part of town. I actually lived in the same place for my entire life. So, but I feel like that's kind of given me an appreciation for both sides. Is like, yeah, out here in California, it's very common that you'll find someone who's just like the trust fund douchebag. Absolutely. Like you see them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But there are equally probably more people who, especially my favorite one is like I have a number of Indian and Asian friends,
Mm-hmm.
people who their parents like just moved here from Asia or India with not much, got a degree, got into a tech company, and now they're not like super rich, but they're pretty well off. So, I mean, I think there's some good in the system, but yeah, I see it all. I hate to take a strong stance.
I think I
eat
have
the
to.
rich or
I think I have to
eat
like
the poor.
super clarify. What I mean by rich is strictly the billionaires. Like when I was talking about my entire opinion on them, it's strictly people in that billionaire category. Like I said, you could be a millionaire and still have the same ideals and everything as we do, and you would probably be just as appreciative for everything you have. But for some reason, as soon as you hit billionaire status, it's like something clicks, and then it's either media attention or your own ego gets in the way that makes you, I don't know, just something about them just falls under that stereotype. But I don't see that with a lot of the millionaires that I know, because I like Evan, I've seen and met my fair share of millionaires that live in Whistler, Squamish, Vancouver, and they're all super chill. All of them are super nice. They all have a great time. Their family, their friends are super cool. I've hung out with a lot of their children, and they're cool. Like not children, like my age children, but not like at the playground throwing hundreds at, like, you know what I mean. Okay, I'm gonna stop before Chris Hansen busts down my door and he's just like, I heard children, take a seat. But yeah, no, sorry, I just wanted to elaborate. I'm talking strictly on billionaires with what my opinion was.
Oh yeah, totally. I always feel like if you put like a ceiling, I know this is going back what like 30 minutes in the conversation
go
or
for it.
whatever, but when you put like a cap on them, I'm always like, well, won't they just leave? Won't they just go to like wherever else? Won't they just go to
See ya.
Germany and hang out with your rich relatives? So I don't know. I frequently when I find it's a subject that's like hasn't been solved yet, there's usually more to it than that, except taxes.
the
I'm
problem-
upset that we have to do our taxes here.
Same here. But the problem with the cap, though, is they could easily fix it by making it so that it's attached to citizenship. So if you want to be a citizen of the country, you have this wealth cap. But if you don't want to be a citizen of this country, you can only own X amount of real estate, you can own X amount of properties, and that's it. So if
You
they were to
can't own a business, you can't be a CEO.
Well, see, I wouldn't care if they owned a business. Like, let's say, for instance, they had, like, there was, like, some dude here that owned 100 Taco Bells across Canada. I don't want to lose my Taco Bells, so let him keep the Taco Bells. But none of the other businesses. Like, let him keep 10% of them. So that way there's still something here.
There will be, though. You're saying it like they own the Taco Bells. Like someone else will own that Taco Bell.
I
you
guess
don't need the rich person.
I guess franchise is probably a bad example. I can't really think of any Canadian businesses because nobody wants to start any here other than weed. Like that's a problem we have with Canada is there's actually no businesses like other than like some mom and pop shops and weed shops. There really isn't any companies that want to set up shop here. That's probably because, like California, we would tax the shit out of them. And that's why majority of them probably live in America again.
I mean, there's LMG that comes to mind.
What do they do?
Linus Media Group.
Like
They
Linus
make,
Tech Tips?
Yeah.
He's Canadian?
Oh, really?
Are you? You got to be fucking
like
with
that.
me. Yes, they're in Vancouver.
I always thought he was in California. All right, well,
No.
that's interesting.
Yeah, they're all Canadian. Yeah.
I didn't realize I lived so close to Linus.
Yeah.
But I don't really consider him a major media group either. Like his net worth's probably what, like 15 mil, something like that. I wouldn't say it hits quite the same way as like the owner of Coca-Cola starting a business here and having billions upon billions of dollars. Like, I mean, yeah, it's a start, but I'm thinking like those almost billion-dollar companies. Like there's I can't think of one that's in Canada, but I can think of like 30 that's in the States.
It's just one of the
Tim
things that I always
Hortons?
think about is like if there was that wealth cap and then that money had to go like back into like say the government, we wouldn't have this bullshit health insurance like that. I don't understand how that's not like the most criminal thing. I don't understand how that's not like some breach of some convention because like no one should have to pay to survive. That just seems so criminal to me. Like I've been in a position where I was not feeling well enough and had to sit down and really think, can I afford to call an ambulance? Because that's going to be like $30,000, $20,000. It's absurdly expensive. And it doesn't even need to be.
No,
They
it
just
doesn't.
made it that price
Oh, yeah.
because they make the insurance companies pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you get rid of the insurance companies, then, you know, like all of like, see, people are like, no, we can't raise taxes for that stuff. But it's like, if you raise the taxes for it, it's because you're not paying for it elsewhere. It's
Yeah.
not coming out of your paycheck for your employer. And the government's just going to, you know, just think of all the money we'd have for infrastructure if we just taxed, you know, the mega wealthy like they fucking should be. We'd have solar energy everywhere, wind energy everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But we'd have healthcare, people would survive. And you'd never have anyone who's just like, oh God, like I don't know what's going on. I don't feel well. Should I call an ambulance? Like what? Like that just no one should ever have to hesitate to like to ask for help like that.
No, not at all. Like this is actually something I was saying before, where I think America is the only first world country that has a third world government, and it's really fucked up because even let's say for instance you don't tax the rich more in the future just to try to make healthcare a thing. Why not take 10 or 20%, even 25% of your military budget and just put it into healthcare? There's no reason America should be spending on $980 billion a year on the military. It's not going to veterans, that's for sure. So what's it going to? It's going to weaponry to make sure that the gun manufacturers are making a fortune. It's going to tanks and the manufacturing of vehicles and planes and jets for a war nobody wants to fight. For a war that isn't being fought now. And instead of lowering the budget and putting it to things that could actually help Americans, all they're doing is just making people that make other deadly weapons more rich. Like China is the second one that has... Sorry, I just want to quickly say this number super quick. China's second place for the biggest military budget, and that's only 120 million. Only 120 million. 10 times more in the States for literally no reason. If they cut out a quarter of that and just put it into healthcare, you guys would be as set as Canada. In fact, you'd be more set because you would have the healthcare and you'd have the military. Sorry, you could go for it, Oz.
Shit, what was the thing when I jumped in? It was just what you were talking about. Pulling the money or what was the thought?
I could go back to what I was saying.
Yeah, what were you saying?
So it's instead of, even if you don't tax the rich extra, if you just take 20 or 25% of the current budget, which is $960 billion for a war nobody wants to fight, just so that they can keep manufacturing guns and weapons and ammunition and vehicles for this future war that they're always constantly preparing for. If they just took that budget and cut it, they could put it into healthcare and make it so that everybody could have this universal healthcare without having to increase taxes. It's just a reallocation of the money that they've already paid. So people would get the healthcare they want. They wouldn't get the increase in taxes that they don't want. And the military would just have to cut back on a couple planes that they're never going to use. So I just don't understand why they can't make that work somehow. But like even Biden, who's 78 and forgets half the words he's saying as he says them, he should be able to forget like 25% of the military budget at that point and forget that he put it into healthcare. The guy's brains, he's supposed to, he went on this entire campaign talking about how he's for the people and all that. But 40 years ago, he was like, fuck the people and all that. Like when he, I think what did he say once that was fucking hilarious? He said, poor kids are just as good as white kids. That was his exact quote. Poor kids are just as good as white. That's it. Just as smart. He said something that was just like, wow. Okay. Nice Freudian slip there, KKK man. But if he just did what the people wanted, instead of taking hundreds of millions of dollars up the ass like every other president has, then we would get America having universal healthcare. We would see a positive change in America, especially if they took.
I remembered what I was going to say.
Go for it.
So cutting the budget and all that, it doesn't even really matter at this point because COVID showed everyone what this country's weakness really is. Yep. Like no one is going to attack America with military. Like it's gonna be a viral attack and it's gonna work.
Yep. Because
we don't have that that mentality of if you're sick to put a mask on. Like we don't have that. And like, yeah. So our military is not going to do us a fucking bit of good when someone actually does want to attack us. They have seen our weakness and seen how just pathetic we handled it. A lot of that was our president at the time. Or, okay, I should say the president at the time. I don't want to call him my president. I just lived here and
Fair.
He was in. But like, yeah, like that was just abysmal. 500,000 people died. Like,
but
oh man,
I'm sorry, but I have to cut in here. So
yeah,
I don't think this is going to sound super controversial, but just bear with me a sec as I say it.
Okay.
So I don't think Donald Trump is the reason that the masks weren't as worn. No, just trust me on this. There's a point that I'm getting to here. I think he took an already prevalent mentality that has always been in America and like lit a fire under it. Like he wasn't going out and being like, oh, I'm telling you not to wear the mask. He was using his ability to take propaganda that he's always given and just made it so that the people that were always like, America's the greatest country ever, we're number one, fuck everyone else. The people who had that mentality listened to him because all he was doing was stroking America's ego and making them feel like they were the greatest nation. So those people believed in him more and more and more, and to the point where it became this weird balance of people trying to be like, wear the mask, it's not a political thing, to people being like, it's a political thing, fuck China, fuck Asia, fuck everyone else, fuck everything, America's number one. Those are the people I see constantly running around not wearing masks and doing stuff. Whereas I think Again, I'm also saying I think it's a very visual minority of people that do that, because there are a lot of people that either just won't go out or they'll just wear the mask because they don't want to deal with the hassle or the backfire of it. So his I guess gaslighting really worked on the people that already had it in their mind that they've already believed in this type of lifestyle. Like, we can't blame Trump for that specifically, because look at what's his name, the mega church guy, Peter Koppelheimer, what's his name?
I don't know.
He's worth like $780 billion. He's this really not Peter Jackson. He's creepy in his own way. Oh, what's his name? Peter. Oh fuck. I know I looked this up recently. Mega church billionaire. Or mega church pastor. Which one
Peter.
is it?
Had Peter there. Don't search for pastors Peter. Make sure you turn safe search on.
Yes. Oh, Kenneth Copeland. That's it. Kenneth Copeland.
Peter,
Not
you
even
were
Peter.
close.
But
you hear church, you think Peter.
Yeah, I mean, if you're 12 years old, you're definitely going to see one.
Hey now, I went to Catholic school.
How many Peters did you see?
Let's move on.
Good answer. But Kenneth Copeland is somebody who was always like that. Like, even when SARS happened, he encouraged people not to wash their hands, not to stay inside, not to be afraid of the virus. In fact, if somebody had the virus, he encouraged people to go up and hug them and like give them the power of God. And what happened? People listened to him. So people are willing to deal with this, not just because Donald Trump was the president. It's just people pick on this weird mentality. They find the most vulnerable that they can, and they like brainwash them into thinking that their way of thinking is right. And this is why Kenneth Copeland, I think, looks like a demon. Like, he looks like a demon. Like, you remember the Men in Black, where that weird alien came and took that guy's skin, and he was like, water, I need sugar. Yeah, that's essentially what happened to Kenneth Copeland. He looks like somebody took somebody else's skin that was too big for him and just like wore it as a suit. And it's like the devil himself. He looks fucking scary. And he preys upon these people. Like, even during COVID, when it first happened, he said, don't you dare stop giving money to the church. If you have to go outside, sick or not, you put that money under our door. We need that money. He was the dark side Phil of fucking mega churches. Doesn't matter what's going on. We need your money. We need it now. And he encouraged people not to wear masks. Even during COVID, he said the same thing. I sat there, I got sick, I prayed the sickness away. In 15 minutes, I was back to normal. If you're sick, come to my church. I'll put my hand on you and I'll put the Spirit of God through you. His exact words. And I was just thinking to myself, holy shit. This guy's 86 years old and he's fucking retarded. And he's a billionaire. So clearly he's just a master scammer. You might even sue me if he hears this.
I don't think he believes anything that he's actually saying either.
If you, Jimothy, I don't know if you've ever seen it. If neither of you have seen him, Google this guy. He looks like a nightmare. He looks like somebody.
What did we decide his name was?
Kenneth Copeland.
He's the most popular Kenneth, I guess. Oh.
He is a nightmare. He looks like a Batman villain.
That guy.
Yeah.
It does look like a Batman villain. His eyes are so small.
That's because, like I said, he's the devil with stretched skin over him. All religion is just a Kenneth That's what I said last time too at Ash. Huh?
It's the devil in a Kenneth Copeland suit.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure they're synonymous at this point, but yeah, that guy, I would say, is probably more responsible for people not wearing masks than Donald Trump is. I think Donald Trump perpetuated it for sure, but I don't think he's the sole one responsible, is I guess what I was trying to get at.
I never thought that he was. My thing of it being more his fault was like the fact that he disbanded the pandemic response team that Obama put into effect back in 2014 or 2012. I think it's 2014. Right. Like that sort of stuff. It's like, man, it sure would have been great if we had a pandemic response team, huh?
That would have been so perfectly timed.
Or just the fact that like, I don't know, his whole MO was just like about drawing a line and just carving that line deeper and deeper to force like to like just split this country in two.
Do you want to
And,
hear
like,
me turn this into a huge conspiracy?
yes,
Oh god. Okay. So here's the huge conspiracy. This is my tinfoil hat moment. You ready?
I'm ready.
So what if the reason Donald Trump disbanded the pandemic force or whatever they were called and did everything that he did to appease China because he knew that China was making this virus in one of their labs and they wanted it to spread to see what would happen with it. And of course, Donald Trump, being who he is, decided to take the payout from China to cover all of his, debts that he had from before he went into office and, kind of fucked over all of America just at the benefit of China.
Nah.
I know it's tinfoil hatty, but think about it. China did make the virus. Like there was a lab that was working on it. When COVID first came out, they said it came from this lab. It escaped from this lab, and they didn't know how to control it. But then all of a sudden, it went from being made in a lab to a woman ate a bat, and then she had COVID, even though I don't think that's true. I don't think that's how I don't think that's how it spread. I'm almost certain it was manufactured in a Chinese laboratory and it was purposefully introduced into the world. And I'm starting to think that some world leaders knew about it and were kind of on the side of letting the world see what happens with it. Because overpopulation is a thing, right? If they can't get us to go to Mars and they can't get us to go to another planet to start colonizing there, we are going to run out of resources soon, especially with how exponential our population is growing. So why wouldn't the government just try to, weed out some of the weaker genetics and get rid of the ones with a virus that naturally occurred when a woman ate bat soup? Something that didn't even look appetite. The bat looked fake in the video. The bat looked like something out of a Halloween store. So what would stop world leaders from, letting it run rampant for a year and then making a vaccine and just seeing what happened, seeing where things went, seeing how the world responded to it? What if it was all just one big test to see what would happen if they manufactured the perfect virus? What if it was just one big test to see how each individual country handled the virus? I don't know. Could be. That's my tinfoil hat moment.
That's given a lot of people a lot more credit than I think they deserve.
True, but it's also the fact that if people were smart enough to be like that, they would hide it the way that they did. Like they would make it look like they're inept to make it look like it's not their fault. There wouldn't be a brilliant man who's just like, yes, I'm the Stephen Hawking of COVID, but I had no idea it was manufactured. I thought it came from bat soup. So that's why I think even if I'm giving people too much credit, there is always that possibility that they are smart enough to know what looks like them being aloof versus knowing what was happening and just not doing anything about it. Because politics is just a game of outplaying the other person, right? All it is chess. So if they're able to sway millions of people into voting for them, how could they not sway millions of people into thinking they had no idea about this virus? Like, look at the amount of things that the president probably knows that's top secret. How has nothing ever been leaked over the last couple decades? It's because they're able to, keep most of that hidden. And if they don't, then they die. So they have to be prepared to keep secrets that will kill them. So what's to prevent them from making this a secret that they just add to another large portfolio of things that they are allowed to know that nobody else is allowed to know? And why is China so defensive of the fact that it was most likely manufactured? And why is so many people that discredited that from earlier saying, well, now there is a good chance that it was lab created? Even Fauci is coming out and saying, yeah, I don't give credence to the fact that it was just a natural occurrence. I want them to start investigating the fact that it was probably manufactured in a laboratory. I mean, there's certain things that just don't make it seem as natural as people are wanting it to be. So why couldn't it be one big conspiracy? But this is also coming from somebody who likes conspiracies because it makes things seem more interesting than if they weren't conspiracies. The world's too boring without them. I like the idea of an entire room of like super evil politicians being like, you know what? Let's create a virus, kill off a bunch of people, make a vaccine, look like heroes, and then they'll be none the wiser. In fact, we'll sell millions in masks. Let's invest in masks. And then they invest all their fortune in masks.
I mean, if it's a good
fuck the
investment, it's a
rich.
good investment.
I
This
know
all
it's fucking
circles back
bonkers.
to fuck the rich.
Exactly. It's all them just trying to control everything. Like I think another reason for my conspiracy though is how long it took India to actually start getting hit by COVID as hard as the rest of the world was. Like look at India, what was it like for the last couple months? There's cases just skyrocketed like never before. Why did that all of a sudden start happening? Like COVID's been around for years. Everywhere else, it's stable growth or exponential growth, but it's growth that makes sense. In India, something happened that just started it to skyrocket. So either somebody was exposed to a new form of coronavirus that for some reason nobody's telling us about, or somebody's maybe done some sort of chemical attack to make it so that it starts spreading more. It just seems odd that out of nowhere, a country like India that has a majority poor population wouldn't have been hit hard by COVID first. Why is it getting hit hard last? That's my question.
I haven't paid any attention to India in a very long time. I think the last thing that I was like interested in with India was like Indian
food?
TikToks.
Oh.
Like, so
just
I don't even know where they are. I could pick them out on a map.
just for yourself,
Kinda.
Google India COVID, and it'll just show you a graph. Keep in mind, India's right next to China.
I believe you. Like I've heard of that, but I just maybe they were hiding it somewhere.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I would think that they would get hit so much sooner because they are like right next to China. They're China's neighbor. So why are they getting hit now and not at the very beginning? Scientifically, it doesn't make any sense to me.
This conspiracy theory is starting to make more and more sense.
I'm good at making things make sense.
God, Bangladesh is weird. It's almost like there's like a chunk of India that's just like it's like creeping away from the rest of India, just held on by like that much land. It's
Yep.
like Bangladesh is more Indian than some of India.
Pretty much.
Weird.
But like that's what makes me think of these weird conspiracies. And it makes me think like there's so much that we just don't know that some of these conspiracies could be true. Like, of course, I don't think flat Earth is true. There's no fucking way flat Earth is correct. And if you're a flat Earther, I'm sorry, but you're a fucking moron. You goofy bitch.
What this looks like to me, looking at the graph, was what I worry about happening here. Actually, it's like you can see where it was bad right there, and then right around here in February, it's like, oh look, we've got the lowest average ever. And then when you've got 20% of the planet's population in the mindset of, oh, it's over then, and then they start going out like there's nothing happening anymore.
I have one disagreement with that.
What's up?
I have one disagreement with that, and that's the fact that in these areas where the COVID cases spiked, they are areas where they didn't really have like COVID regulations. So it should have been stable growth the entire time. It's not like people were quarantining. These areas, they didn't care. They didn't have access to the PPEs. They didn't have access to clean water or any of this. They had to work or else they would starve kind of shit. And they didn't just all of a sudden, oh, the cases are down, we get to start going out. These are areas that have been going out and working every day since the pandemic started. It's the super rich areas that haven't really had any change, but the poor areas did. And that's the part I'm not getting. I'm not understanding how an area that didn't really have too much daily change could have such a sporadic case increase. From like, usually you'd see like, oh, a bunch of tourists landed here in India and then they had to quarantine, but then it got out and there was a slight spike. But in this case, it's just a consistent spike across the board in these areas that it didn't have spikes in before, just consistent growth. So something happened that caused it to spike and continue spiking upwards. So that's what I'm not getting.
I mean, it's hard to social distance when there's really too many people to get 6 feet between each other.
Yeah. But like these are also areas that don't typically have like access to internet all the time or access to television all the time. These are places that like if you get to eat that day, you're lucky. Like it's that type of shit. And that's why it's like I'm thinking that there's no way they get regular updates about COVID or about how to keep yourself safe from it, or you get vaccines from it. Like they've only been recently getting vaccines from other parts of the world now, just because it's so bad. Like it's increased so much that it just doesn't make any sense anymore. And if honestly, if China was to manufacture a virus to test, where would they test it? They would probably test it on the small villages on the outskirts of China that they still test the Black Plague on. Or they would go to India, which is their neighbor to the south, and just pass it on there. It'd be so easy to do it. And then they could see what this new strain of virus does. May not spread as much, but it might spread enough to certain people, or it might spread enough to certain areas because of how this virus is treated. Like, if you rub your hands with rubbing alcohol all the time, it's gone, right? But in these areas, they don't have that access. So what if this is just another wave of the virus that was manufactured before, but it's manufactured to be a little harder to spot, takes a little longer to incubate, and then it spreads much faster. Like if I had already originally manufactured a virus, I would wait a year, see what kind of damage it did, learn from the mistakes. Incubation time, not long enough. Let's make it a month. Let's make it so it takes 1 month for it to actually show up and start showing symptoms. But in that 1 month, you're still infectious. Like you're still contagious. So if they made it and they manufactured it that way, that could explain the sudden rise in cases in like India, because again, they're so close to China, the supposed place where the vaccine had started or was created, that China could test it out on that market. For all we know, we could be heading for a very rocky round 2. Especially with this vaccine too. Like it might not actually
did you just say test it out on that market?
Yeah.
Market for what?
The black market. You know, the people who want to use bioterrorism. Test it out for the market.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that all these people are going to be interested in buying COVID after this.
In fairness, I think China would sell it to pretty much anybody with a big enough price tag. They seem like the type that would silence anybody who speaks against them. But, like, I could see this being something that they might turn into weaponizing. Because like what you said, if they want to take down America, they're not going to start a war. They're going to just start a bio war. So maybe they are going to try to think about weaponizing it. Because they're sure as shit not going to try to make more nuclear bombs, because then the UN gets involved, and then everybody else is all like, well, we got to be a little bit sketchy about China here. But they come up with one story of a woman eating a bat and everybody in the world gets COVID. I don't know. Seems a little weird. Seems like there's a couple things that aren't balanced right there. Seems like a little bit of a cover-up, considering that first started off as, yes, this laboratory here accidentally released the COVID virus. And why people in the world now, big doctors, are saying that they need to check into the manufacture of this stuff. I can see it being a weaponized thing. And China is very secret. They don't have access to YouTube or any of that other shit. So who's going to be able to leak it if we don't have access to any of that stuff, right? So they're more secret than ever. They're almost like North Korea is the only other place as secretive as they are. But North Korea is not smart enough to pull that shit off. China, however, definitely is. And so there's my tinfoil hat moment. And that was
like
all off the spot. That was just top of the head shit too. So enjoy.
I feel like the next word is going to be like cyber, with the whole pipeline. I don't know if you heard about this Canadian, but like the pipeline got hacked over here. Some pipeline. I don't know. We have so many. I can't keep up with them all.
The one over
of
on
them
the
got
East Coast.
hacked. Yeah.
Wasn't it called
And
the
so
Colonial
now-
Pipeline? Pipeline? Pipeline.
It was the Colonial
Probably.
Pipeline.
Okay.
But like now that's been hacked and there's just gas shortages everywhere. I think it's resolved itself because I don't hear about people storing
They
bags
paid
of
the debt. They paid it off.
gasoline. But I was so pissed. They paid them. Now they're just gonna. Why would they not do it again? Ugh.
Well, it's because they're going to up
Anyway.
security now because they can now see how much money that would cost them. So
Well, they can try. As a hacker man myself, I want to believe that they can do it again or just attack something different. I don't know.
see, the thing is I feel like them doing that. Did y'all see that? Oh, the gas basement. Yes, I remember. Okay, yeah, that was a good picture of somebody. It looks like they filled their their basement with gasoline, but it was like a photo of somebody in the middle of like a hurricane or some shit, and their basement's just flooded and it's a bunch of dirty water. But because of how it looks, it's just gasoline. And I think the caption was just, "So got my gas." It was so good. But see, the thing is I feel like with people like this, where it's not like a government that's trying to force people into increasing their security, now that there's actually been money that's passed hands from one person to like probably like a group of like a couple hackers, now that they've seen how easy it is for that shit to happen, those greedy billionaire cunts are going to be covering their money so fast now, there's no way they're not going to up security. And that's for almost every business, except for like the ones that don't really do any kind of like super important thing like gasoline, like water and shit like that. They're going to have to up security on it so fast. But if it's like a Walmart website's getting hacked, I don't think anybody's going to care if they can't buy their carrots online. They're just going to go to the store. So I don't think it's really going to impact too many businesses. It's going to impact a lot of the essential businesses. And you know what? I'm kind of okay that this happened with such a small, like with such a small, what's the word I'm looking for? Inconvenience to have happen versus something where it's like, oh, a hospital just lost power now for 3 weeks because some douche wants $5 million. See, like if they pulled that shit, it'd be a lot more dangerous because there would be a lot of dead people. So the fact that they did it with just gasoline, that's fine. If it was water, I'd be just as pissed. But if you're taking away gas for a week, call in sick to work, be like, hey, yeah, you heard what's happening with the Colonial Pipeline. I can't make it.
They didn't take away gas. What they did was they hacked the headquarters. And so just to like make sure that the infrastructure itself, like the network and stuff, to make sure it wasn't hacked, so that way they can't just start, opening and closing valves and like, flooding gas through these lines and making big explosions. That's why they temporarily shut it off, just to make sure.
That.
Yeah, that's what they were concerned for, and so that's where they're like, all right, so we're just gonna not use these big long gasoline filled pipelines for a couple of days until we can go through and make sure that they're not just gonna turn it on and make stuff explode.
Yeah. But I think that's still preferable in terms of what other options they could have hacked. It's still like, even with the possibility of explosions. But I think with that, it's opened up a lot of eyes to what kind of security systems need to be in place, considering how many of these hackers are probably the same age as Jimothy. Jimothy, did you hack the Colonial Pipeline?
I'm not smart enough for that, man.
That sounds like something the hacker would say.
No, yeah, rudimentary computer science has not quite taught me how to hack into things. But...
Fair enough. You'll get that in
Colonial Pipeline hacker says what?
What?
See?
You got him. Somebody called the feds. You just hear, FBI, open up! They were already waiting for you. It turns out I've been a patsy this entire time. Oz is actually the team leader. But yeah, no, like, because now I think they're going to up the security on water specifically, gas for sure. What else goes in a pipe other than weed?
Maple syrup?
That's Canada. We don't think anybody's going to hack us for our maple syrup though. They want the world to taste it.
I mean, the best maple syrup comes from Vermont anyway. Fuck Canada.
How dare you? You've never had Canadian maple syrup then.
I just
Who
use
has
Mrs.
trees?
Buttersworth anyway.
Oh, that's true. Mrs. Buttersworth's
just...
pretty fucking good.
It is. I like their blend of chemicals.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It really jimmies my nuts. Do you not like being a verb?
Just make...
It really Jimothy's your nuts.
Oh, well, I should have said it really rustles my jimmies, but I went with it really jimmies my nuts.
Yo, did you hear about these Jimothy's? Jimothy's nuts.
Ooh.
Oh.
He just shows them on camera, gets me banned on Twitch. I'll show you to talk about my balls. Like, see, that I feel like is something that's the ultimate power to have, like, to make sure that, like, if you ever go on somebody's show as a guest, if your camera's ever showing, you have the power of their channel in your hands. You could just be like, for instance, with Tim the Tapman, you're on his podcast, you're on his show or some shit. You could just be like, so Tim, how about you slap me 20 gifted subs, or somebody's gonna see one or more of my nuts.
Or more.
One or more.
Implying that there could be 2 or more.
I've got a bag of them
Implying
in the
that there
corner.
could be less than 2.
That's true. It's true. Testicular cancer is a serious thing, Oz. It's a serious thing, and I don't take those as jokes on my channel. Testicular cancer is the I don't know where to go from there because I don't know much about testicular cancer other than the fact that you got a lump on it. They sear it off, and away you go. I mean,
The more you know.
honestly, if I end up getting testicular cancer, knock on wood, I mean, poor choice of words, but if I get testicular cancer, I think I'd be fine with one ball. I feel like I've trained it well enough where it can kind of make up for losing half of its like firing power. It's like going from an extended mag to a regular clip in Call of Duty for me now. I've got that like 100-round burst. I don't mind going down to a 50. Either way, something's swimming to the end of the finish line. How did we get to be talking about my cum?
Isn't it
just
always
happens.
that way?
Yeah.
I mean, it always goes back to cum.
Mhm.
It's the circle of life.
Yeah. We all started out as someone's jizz.
That's
Like,
true. You were the fastest swimmer.
Yeah, that's back in the day, like my dad shot me out of his balls.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing that happened.
It's true. As Dan Avidan would say, I am the greatest thing my dad's balls have ever shot out, and my siblings are a close third and second.
Yeah. You ever sit and think about that there, Jimothy, that your dad shot you out of his balls into your mom?
Yeah, I refuse to believe that
shouldn't
I
sit and
won
think
fair
about
and
that.
square. I must have cheated.
I like to think of you as just 3D printed. One day
I
your
am
parents...
a cardboard cutout. You're aware, right?
Oh man, this is when your mom pops up from behind you and she's been puppeting this thing the entire time. We lost him in a car accident 20 years ago. We want him to live on, and this is the last photo we have of him. Oh, that's so morbid for you to think about. First, you have to think about your parents having sex, and then you're a 3D printed dead person from 20 years ago. That's pretty good. That's not
The lore
bad.
is real here.
Yeah, we're coming up with some interesting backstories for you, Jimothy. It's almost like
It's
Evan's.
all canon.
It's almost like Evan's clone thing, but instead you're 3D printed and you're a cardboard cutout, and your mom is puppeteering you, and you've been dead for 20 years. I still can't get over the fact that you're a 9/11 baby. That's how it works. You were born. You were
what
alive
now?
in 9/11. You were killed in 9/11. You were the inside job.
Me personally.
Yeah.
The
you were there wasn't even a plane crash. You were just inside the building, like playing with the elevator a couple too many times. Then an electrical fire started and it burned down the steel beams. That's how you started 9/11. I hope you wear that with a badge of pride one day and you're just like, yeah, I was on this podcast. Turns out I started 9/11. And I hope your friends
I
look at you
found out that
confused.
day.
You weren't even born until 2003, right?
Yeah, that's what makes this
Two.
so much funny.
2002. So I graduated high school, and you were born.
Holy shit. I was
Yeah.
9.
Nicely done. You're way ahead on the race.
Yeah, I will definitely die first. Yeah,
Well, we don't know that. We can
That's
make some
true.
things happen to Jimothy.
Watch me.
I mean, in this lore, he's already been dead for 20 years, and he started 9/11, so... How do you plan on outliving
Any other
that?
war crimes that I get to accept credit for?
Sure. You also started COVID. Oh, man.
Wait, but I was a cardboard cutout the whole time.
Exactly. So technically,
I'm
your
busy.
mom started it.
There's a time travel element to all of this. We're gonna go Bill and Ted.
Oh, you want to go Bill and Ted on this? Okay. So okay, so you and Oz are Bill and Ted. Which one who's claiming who?
Bill.
Actually, you know what? I think yeah,
Okay, I'll be Ted.
I
Wait,
think
which one's
Oz has
which?
to be Bill. Well, Bill No. I got to say Jimothy's more of a Bill. Keanu Reeves, you're
wanna
Oz
be
with the
Keanu.
hair. You got to be Ted.
Oh, okay.
Who's the other guy?
I can't remember his name, but Bill is he's the short-haired, curly hair one, right? So, yeah, I got to give that one to Jimothy. I'm sorry, Oz, but you got to be Keanu Reeves.
But I thought he was Bill, because I thought Ted was, Theodore something something Esquire, and like he was like the rich one.
Yeah, I thought that was Keanu Reeves.
Was it?
I guess I got to check
I've
this
never
out
seen
now.
the movie. I can't.
Ted from Bill and Ted. I'm almost certain it's Keanu. Bill is Alex Winter. Ted is Keanu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I always got that backwards too. And it's one of my favorite movies, so that's kind of sad.
I mean, they were funny, but I haven't seen either of those movies in Jimothy's lifetime or more.
Oh, yeah. I think the last time
I
I
haven't
saw
seen
it
them
was
in my
probably
lifetime
about
either.
15, 20 years ago.
Jelly Doug, Who's Bill and Who's Ted. It's a movie that's either great or stupid, or
Both.
both, or
Definitely
neither.
both.
Either way, you have to watch it.
It's an adventure. Don't watch the new one. The new one sucked ass. It would be like if Mike Myers decided to be the love guru again. It's just not something we want or need.
Or like another Austin Powers.
Actually, I feel like if Austin Powers is written well, it could do well as like a James Bond spoof when James Bond comes out with its next movie. I feel like it could do another good movie. Another movie I don't think would be a good one. I don't know. There's so many actually. Super Troopers was a mistake. To do a second Super Troopers was not a good idea.
I didn't even know they did.
Yeah, it was a crowdfunded thing. They made like $2.8 million off of the crowdfunding for it, and then they made the movie. It wasn't good. It wasn't good, but it was okay. But it just
what they
ruined the
should
legacy
make
of the
is
first one.
a new Wayne's World.
Yes, that was the one I was thinking that would be another good one. I've seen them in commercials dressed like Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured that was like leading up to, a big announcement of another Wayne's World coming out.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought was going to happen. And then when I found out it was like a commercial for like Geico Insurance, I was like, the fuck is this? I don't want this to be insurance. This isn't Wayne's World. This is like Wayne's World if he was pandering to 90-year-olds. I want the party
There was,
time.
like-
I want the excellent.
If there was a Progressive the movie, you guys know Progressive
Oh, yeah.
Insurance, right?
Flow.
If we had an entire lore story, would you watch it?
Yes, because I actually would have smashed Flo. I would have banged her. I would have.
Would've
She
or
would.
still will?
Maybe still will. She would definitely need health insurance by the time I was done with her.
Well, you know what they say. Ouch.
Mine usually go. That sound effect implied so many different things. I'll leave that up to anybody's imagination. Oh, I'm a dirty old man. Or at least I will be one day. I feel like I'll eventually turn into Christopher Lloyd back in like Back to the Future days. I feel like that's what I'm going to be like when I'm 80 years old. And I'm just going to be...
Except that he was like 40 or 50 or...
Yeah. But
His
he never
age is really
changed.
hard to discern.
But he never changed over those years. If you see him now, he's still like one pill away from trying to go 88 miles and go back and fuck Marty's mom. Like, that movie was fucked, though. The whole premise of going back in time just to become your own father, or was it your own grandfather? It was your own father. To go back in time and become your own dad, that's really fucked. And the
But
fact
he didn't.
he did. He banged his
No,
mom.
he didn't. No, he didn't.
Didn't he?
No.
If he
no,
did,
no, no.
I think the movie would have he would have disappeared, right?
I thought if
he
he
would have broken
didn't.
it.
No, he didn't.
Did Marty fuck his mom?
No, he did not. Hey, get that out of my face. You're covering up my face.
Oh! Yeah, it's a good thing I didn't click on images. Wait, okay, so why does everyone forget that Back to the Future implies that Marty McFly's mom wants to have sex with him? Oh, wants to. Oh,
Yeah,
man, I was
But she
living
thought
in...
he was hot.
Damn it, I was living in the world where they just fucking did it, and he had like
No.
a bunch of chromosomes that were already
No,
his.
you're thinking of
I'm thinking of Futurama, where he becomes
Yeah.
his own grandfather.
Yeah.
Fuck. Man, damn it. I'm
Which
so
was
sad.
still funny.
Yeah, it was funny, but I liked the idea that Back to the Future, the whole premise was him going back in time and banging his mom. That's what I found so funny about the 80s. Turns out my thought process was wrong and sad.
Yeah, no, he helped his dad hook up with his mom and fight off the
That's
bully
right.
and change the future. So then the bully was like all like subservient to the family after that because the dad
That's
punched him
right.
once.
Oh, you're right.
And then the big butch guy didn't immediately get up and just beat the living piss shit out of him for some reason.
Yeah, that's what we call 80s plot holes.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have them now, but they're slightly more hidden. But oh man, it's there's probably a Back to the Fucking or some shit that's like, what if he did have sex with his mother?
I'm sure there are several.
Back to the Fucking, a 1980s edition, going 69 miles per hour. Come on, that
You're
would be
gonna
great.
see some serious shit.
You just actually get Christopher Lloyd to play Doc. I just wanted to reprise my role, Marty. Get your dick out of my face.
I want to see someone win an Oscar for something like that.
That would be good.
Just have him go out there and be like, "Oh, Schindler's Fist. Who's going to accept the award?"
Oh no. I want to meet the person who jacked off to Schindler's Fist. I would. That sounds like something Jerry Seinfeld would get off to. Because, like, didn't he make out during Schindler's List in Seinfeld? He, like, took a lady there and just started making out with her during the movie. He'd jack off to that. I bet you he's watched Seinfeld the porno more than once. Like,
he wasn't in it?
no.
Kicked him out of his own. Oh my god.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was too busy going out with that 17-year-old.
Oh, yes, of course.
You can't bring her to the set, so you mean, if there's cameras around, you got to be a little bit more distinct. You got to be a little bit more hidden, disguised with your motions.
That
in the
didn't
ocean.
stop Dan Schneider.
Yeah, but I mean, Dan Schneider's fat, so he has to take it where he can get
Oh.
it. Whereas
Of course, I'm sorry, my
Seinfeld,
mistake.
Seinfeld is a billionaire comedian who's also Jewish, so he's gonna be successful no matter what, and that means that he can get away with going out with 17-year-olds. Dan Schneider's a fat white man who, if you painted him green and a little bit of beige, would be the perfect stunt double for Jabba the Hutt. So there is no reason for him to give up on the potential chance of sniffing a 17-year-old girl's feet if he's got that chance. He's the Quentin Tarantino of pedophiles. I hope that gets put on his grave. I was the Quentin Tarantino of pedos.
That's a good title. I'd take that.
I'd watch the porn parody as long as Chris Hansen's involved. Like, he's just like in the middle of the act, he's lifting up 3 of his 4 stomachs just to make sure that she can get a ride on. And then all of a sudden, kicks in the door. It's Chris Hansen himself. Why don't you take a seat right over there? Can you tell me what you're doing here, Dan? I'm just sniffing feet. Just feet. I love feet.
Did you happen to ask how old these feet were?
Oh, man.
It's kind of hard not to get really into those. Like, I can't tell if it's weird
Feet?
to watch To Catch a Predator.
Oh,
like,
okay,
I've
good,
been
thank
watching
you.
like so many of those reruns
Okay.
on YouTube. Like,
Yeah.
does it make you a pedo adjacent to watch those, or does it make you like a pedo warrior?
Well,
or
that depends.
anti-
Are you taking
you
notes
get
on
it.
how not to get caught, or are you watching it thinking, ha ha, you
Yeah.
idiot, you got caught? Like, if you're watching it for the comedy of it and just watching, like, the pedos squirm, then I don't think that makes you pedo adjacent. I think that makes you, like, Chris Handjob. Like, that's who you would be.
Chris Hansen?
You're like the porn parody of Chris Hansen. So I think it's more. I think everybody should watch To Catch a Predator. Whether or not you're taking notes on how not to get caught, because in fairness, you're never going to figure out exactly how they caught them anyway. So I think everybody should watch it because it makes pedos scared and it makes people realize that pedos exist in all shapes and sizes. So To Catch a Predator should be taught in schools. Just saying.
Taught in schools?
Yeah, like, okay, you know how they have health class? You have like one of those, you have like a week of health class where they teach you about the birds and the bees. They'll just have them separate like an hour in that schedule to watch an episode of To Catch a Predator so you're not like sharing your birds with his bees, you know what I mean? You want to keep
What, they just don't stop them?
Yeah,
It's
no,
just like
no.
pointing stuff out as it's going down.
Yeah, like you just have Chris Hansen come to your school. He tells you exactly how the filming of the episode went. He tells you how he lured the children, and then he sees how many of the children end up trying to follow him after class because then he'll know his technique still works. And then and then he just leaves it. And then he's just like, "No, this is exactly what you're not supposed to do. I did all that so you wouldn't fall for it. Stop it. Go away. Get help." Michael Jordan's here too. But no, I think that's something that people should know. Like, especially like 6th graders or 7th graders. They're retarded. They don't know that adults are going to go out of their way to try to hurt them and put stuff in their butt. They have no idea. They don't even know what goes in the butt. They don't know what goes in the front either. They don't know what to do with that shit. So if you show them a
I think we all
show,
knew.
well,
By
I mean,
5th grade, I think we were all very aware.
actually, a lot of the people I knew were not. I was an early bloomer. I knew all that shit when I was in grade 4. But like if you had taught these 6th graders or 7th graders that there are creepy old men like this guy that they like show the little stubby dwarf guy who can barely, like, he's like Hank Hill's dad where he like walks around like he's missing half of his legs and has to waddle onto the bench to like even be. Are you like Googling this guy?
I'm looking up Cotton Cotton Hill. Oh, that's pretty funny.
But he like if they showed like an episode with a really disturbing pedo and we're like, these people are going to be interested in you for this, and then they just show the whole episode of what and like tell them exactly they're trying to do to them. Like, they can raise their hand and be like, so what is oral sex? What does this mean? And what does this mean? And then Chris Hansen just tells them in detail, like, this is what this old man wanted to do to you. This is why your parents say don't talk to strangers. Like, wouldn't that have changed your mentality of walking down the street and somebody stops to ask you for directions? Probably would. I know that when I was in elementary school, just walking the 5 blocks from school to home, I had somebody come up to me and was like, "Can you come a little closer? I can't hear you for the directions." And I was just like, "No, I'm good." And that's just because I watched like To Catch a Predator. I knew about these types of people. And of course, my parents told me never to get into cars with strangers, never get within arm distance and all that. But I don't think that's like common knowledge, especially nowadays where everything's on the internet. Nobody cares anymore. So if you force them in class to sit down and watch Chris Hansen, they're going to get that knowledge. They're going to know not to talk to this dude in the chat room because he's probably a 65-year-old without a cat who's trying to see your cat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the most unbelievable part of the show for me is it's like I have no doubt that there's like an endless supply of dudes looking for children. but like, how many children are out looking for these like dudes?
Well, a lot of the times
I
it's
always thought that was weird.
the thing is a lot of the times it's not who they think they are. Like they disguise themselves as younger, more attractive people. Like, and To Catch a Predator, the biggest thing that you'll ever notice is that the first thing they lie about is their age, and then the second thing they'll either lie about is their photo, or they just will show themselves. It's one of the two. It depends on if they actually consider themselves attractive or not. But the first thing they lie about is the age, and it's always like 10 or 20 years below what it is, depending on how old the actual predator is. So it makes him more personable to that target. And a lot of the people that they're talking to already have issues with their parents, like their father specifically, or their mother, depending on what gender the kid is, or what sex the kid is, or what sexuality they are. So because they prey on those issues, it's easier for them to manipulate it and give them the attention that they crave from their parent that they never got, or their family that they never got. So these people make it seem like they're in the same age range as their parents to lure them to the area, because they think that their parents are trustworthy enough, so why can't this person be too? It's simple manipulation. And it's
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and it's very easy to override once somebody knows that they're being manipulated in that particular way. That's why exposing them to Chris Hansen would keep them from getting exposed at. You know what I mean?
I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I've revealed my trench coat. Father O'Malley didn't really love me. No, he loved you, just a little too much. But at least you'll get to go to heaven no matter what. You've got that get into heaven free card.
You spread the word of God all over his backside.
You keep the word of God coming from those cheeks while I come in your cheeks. Oh. Oh no. I
the only
pictured
reason.
it.
Was that the only reason people go to church now? Is just to like
Get laid?
make
Yeah.
fun
Oh.
of like the pastor or whatever?
I
I
mean,
don't know. I never really went to church. I mean, I did the Catholic school thing, and there was like mass that we went to once a month, but like I was just kind of there. I wasn't like in it. It was just a requirement of going to that school. So I was never really I would never have considered myself Catholic, but they will still definitely consider me Catholic because they love having their big list to show off of like all their members and shit.
yeah. So I guess I should tell the story of how I got banned from a church. All right. So all right. Easter is a big deal in Christian and Catholic beliefs because it is the resurrection of God. So a lot of people go there. I think it's on Sundays usually for mass. And let's just say I wasn't having it because my family was forcing me to go. So before I went there, I pounded a 2.6 of vodka. If I was going to be going to the church, I was not going to go sober, essentially. So I went there, and by the time I got there, the liquor finally started hitting, and I was sitting in the pews. I was playing video games on my phone, like usual. And out of nowhere, the guy up at the top just was like, can you put your phone away, sir? So I was like, all right, fine, I'll put my phone away. I'll listen to him for about 20 minutes. And the liquor really started to kick in.
Oh, boy.
So he started saying some prayer. So I had it in my brain that this was going to be a fantastic idea. So I pretended I was possessed by the devil. So I got up and I started speaking in gibberish, and I started falling on the floor and shaking like I was having a seizure. Yeah, so let's just say when he could smell the vodka on me, he realized what was going on and kicked me out of the church. So that's how I got banned from a church. Funnily enough, though, 3 months later, it ended up burning down. Not too sure why, but it ended up actually burning to the ground. So I'm pretty sure there's like a couple people from that church that probably thought it was me summoning the devil and making him stay there. So that was all a coincidence. Unless like the priest was just so like scared of the fact that I could have been possessed by Satan that he just wanted the insurance money, so he burnt down the church. But yeah, that's how I got banned from a church. It was looking back on it, it's fucking funny. But if I could go back, I think I probably wouldn't do it. Or if I was gonna do it, I would have committed harder to the bit, like research actual like tongues that the Satan would say, just to see what everybody else in there would be thinking. Because if they're all as religious as they claim they are, they must know what Satan would say if he's trying to like take over their brains. So if I
No,
walked
they're
in
all
there,
just there out of habit.
yeah, I kind of figured as much. But I guarantee you, I put on a show. There's probably at least one 90-year-old that was like, I told you the Satan was real. Oh, my Lord, somebody get me out of this building, y'all. So I must have made at least one person's day. There's probably some other poor schmuck that was just like me in there, just hoping that he had some kind of liquor. And then he just saw me on the floor shaking, just be like, oh man, I'm a weird boy.
About you there, Jimothy? Are you religious at all? Go to them Catholic schools?
Not particularly. There was at one point I went to a summer camp at like the Jewish Community Center, and they had a similar thing like that. And I remember there was this one kid. I don't remember. Instead of giving us wine, they would give us like grape juice or something, because they were saying some story about someone who had like stolen a good bit of it. Like
Yeah, that shit's
they
expensive.
initially had it in bottles, and then after that they had to start getting them like individually wrapped or something. Someone was telling me this, like they had to start getting like individual packets, and then some guy just was like, I'll just take 30 of these, put them into like a Dixie cup, and just get wasted off of these little individually packaged wines.
Yep.
So that's why they have grape juice now. But aside from that, no, I don't know. Never really been big on religion. People are nice though. I know
To
a
your
lot of
face.
people.
A tear, yeah. I mean, that's anyone though.
Yeah, well, no, I'm usually very mean to most people's faces if I don't like them. Well, I'm also weird, so I can't be a majority of people. I can't consider myself a majority when I'm a very, very big minority in this case.
Very big.
Yeah, I'm like
Canadian.
300 pounds of minority. Could you imagine like describing yourself as that on like a profile for like Tinder? Yeah, I'm 300 pounds of minority, baby.
Please don't do that.
I can't. I'm white. Although technically where I live, I'm technically a minority. That's all technicalities. It changes wherever you live, which I find very funny about America's mentality. Is their mentality is if you're a minority here, you're a minority everywhere else, which is just not true. Because like if you go to Mexico, I guarantee you being Latin is not a minority. But yeah, no, I don't think I'd ever go on to like Tinder or anything and put in 300-pound minority. I might put above average everywhere except for where it counts. Then that way they're disappointed before it happens, but at least when I like whip it out, they're just like, oh, above average, haha, nice. And I'm like, don't bring out the ruler, but yeah. See, I kind of like going to get my physical done each year because then I get to know what got bigger and what got smaller. So, like, if you're ever going to want to like encourage people to go to the doctor, just get them to measure your dick, yo. Like that shit grows as you get older. Yeah, like if you're ever having problems bringing your kid to the doctor, just be like, we could just tell them to measure your dick. And then when you're 16 and that shit matters to you, you can see how far you've come. And if you didn't grow at all, then good luck.
Interesting choice of words there.
Yeah.
I know what I said, and I stick by it.
Very sticky.
Well, the doctor will be. But I mean, think about it. Like, how much more would you go to the doctor every year if you had to figure out just how much bigger your dick got?
Well, going back to my healthcare argument,
Well, in America, it's different. In America, it's
Yeah.
expensive. It's expensive to measure your dick in America.
that's why we do it with video games.
Yep. We measure it in KD.
Or what was
It can be hard to find a meter stick.
what was that thing that they used to have on the Xbox or the Xbox One? Gamer score. That's what it was.
Oh,
A
yes, the
gamer
gamer
score.
score. I remember
Remember the
caring about
gamer
that
score?
shit. God damn. I think I got to like 50,000 before I stopped playing on the console.
I never had that one, so
Yeah, it led to a really weird addiction in my life. And that was playing video games. I mean, I still do it, but
specifically for points.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
where it gets weird.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, I'm getting this fake gamer score. And all these gamer goth girls are going to be like, let me suck your dick. But then that never happens because they're too busy sucking off a real man.
Who had a gamer score of 100,000?
It's true. He had 69,420 gamer score. It was the ultimate score.
I'll bet that was the ultimate score, actually.
Yeah, probably. This is the greatest score to ever be made. Either that or 42069.
Hmm.
I think either work. I think if you get the 69 420 though, that's like the top tier, and then 42069 is the second place.
Well,
Either
'cause
way,
would be
it gets you a
42
hand job.
It would be 42069.
Oh, because of the comma. Well, I mean, they didn't have commas in the gamer score though.
Really?
No, it was all just like flat words.
Oh.
But when you wrote it out grammatically, it would have to have it, so it wouldn't work.
I would want a gamer score of 800. No, let's see here. 8,080,000. Fuck.
Are you trying
I
to
should
like
write
make
it
your
out.
phone number out of this?
No.
Because I would want my gamer score to be my phone number. I feel like that'd be really funny. It'd take a long time to get to if you're in Europe, but like America and Canada, it'd only take a few generations.
All right. 55,378,008.
And
Oh,
8.
boobies! Boobliss!
Yes. But that's a really high gamer score. That's unattainable. So I probably would have got to like 80,085 and just called it quits. Or just 8,008 and called it quits, because I am not an achievement hunter. Like, not at all.
No, no. Neither is Ryan Haywood after what he did. But a Rooster Teeth joke. He touched a child.
Oh. I didn't hear about that, but I never watched Achievement Hunter because I was
Wasn't
not
he
Achievement
like,
Hunter.
Yep, fair. Huh?
wasn't he like everyone's favorite? I never
Uh,
really watched Rooster Teeth, but
Hard to say. I wouldn't say he was everybody's favorite. Well, I mean, in fairness, I haven't watched Rooster Teeth in like 5 years. I actually only recently watched them because of him banging a 17 or 16-year-old or something. Either way, it was an inappropriate relationship.
I watched back in the day when all they had was Red versus Blue.
Yes, yeah, that's what got me into it. Was way back in the day. But
Way
then
back.
I think he was a fan favorite at some point. I think between 2012 and 2015. After that, I couldn't tell you. But he was definitely the weirdest one. He was the one that always knew how to like kill something, which was really strange. Like he had these weird skills with throwing knives and like axes and shit. And I'm like, why does this man have so many skills that could kill a man?
Because they're based out of Texas.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Texas. Well, I mean, but axe throwing? I don't think Texas and think axe thrower or knife thrower. I think shoot 'em up.
Texas, anything.
I guess that's true. If you can kill with it, Texas will use it.
Because when you're allowed to have guns, you get bored of them, so then you need the throwing axes and the knives.
I like the idea of somebody getting robbed and he takes his shotgun and throws it to the ground and he pulls out his knife and he's like, I got bored. Starts chasing you around his house. It's like John Wick, but he's just like slightly aloof of everything that's going on. He's just like, I could use this gun to kill you, but that's not fun.
John Wick meets the Joker.
Oh, I'd watch that movie. I feel like that'd be fucking cool. John, Joe, what would they call that? Jonker? Fuck, that's terrible.
you could just call it Joker.
Like the Heath
Joker.
Ledger prequel that we'll never get because dear old Heath Ledger did not make it.
True. And I wouldn't want Jared Leto to ruin it with his otherwise normalness.
No.
Did you hear how Jared Leto started a cult?
Sure.
He actually has a fuck island. He got an island and brought a bunch of his cult followers there to fuck. His whole band is based out of there too. But yeah, he's a full-on cult leader. And for some reason, he's still allowed to work in Hollywood, even though like his cult is weirder than Scientology. Are you Googling Jared Leto cult leader?
Yes, I'm looking up Jared Leto cult leader. He's wandering around dressed like Jesus.
Yeah, he's a cult leader. That's what they all do.
Oh, of course.
They literally all dress like Jesus.
Except for
Charles Manson, he dressed like a Nazi.
no, the other guy, Jonestown.
Oh,
Jim
God.
Jones?
Jim Jones, yeah.
Yeah.
He dressed like a fucking player.
He dressed like an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah, but for the 70s, that's what a player was. Heath Ledger versus Jared Leto versus Joaquin Phoenix. Heath Ledger takes it for me. Close second, though, would be Joaquin Phoenix. And then Jared Leto shouldn't even be on the list.
Shouldn't even be on the list.
No.
My man.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, Heath Ledger played his version of the Joker perfectly. Joaquin Phoenix played his version of the Joker perfectly. Jared Leto's Joker did exist in comic books, but he played him in such a way that actually didn't match the comic books at all. So I don't know how you could take a character that's already so well versed in the universe, that there's so much material from them, and there's even like full-on comic books that if you even can't read can still follow the shiny pictures and still somehow fuck up the character.
Isn't on that list.
I'm
sad that Jack Nicholson isn't on that list.
I am too, but I can see why you wouldn't want to put him there, because the same Joker was played by Heath Ledger. And if you have to put Jack Nicholson up against Heath Ledger, then Heath Ledger would win.
No, they're different Jokers, because Jack Nicholson was more of like the gangster style. He's the Jared Leto style Joker, where he had like his gang and they were all like...
Was that the one he was based off of? I thought he was based off the like corporate takeover one that like Heath Ledger was. I always thought for sure he was based off that Joker.
No, he was a Jack Nicholson Joker, gangster.
Oh, well then I guess technically... Yeah, he would have to be on that list. Replace Jared Leto with Jack Nicholson then.
At which point it would go Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson, Joaquin Phoenix.
Agreed. I thought he was just a duplicate. I thought Heath Ledger was just the new creation of Jack Nicholson's old, which is why I wouldn't have included him, because otherwise that's just the same portrayal of a different the same
like,
Joker.
Jack Nicholson's, he had like his gang, and he had like his little henchmen who were like hanging out with him. You know, his posse that he'd roll with.
He's like Mark Hamill's Joker.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Honestly, Mark Hamill's Joker, I think, is a category all of its own. Like, there's so many different vocals for the Joker, but only one as memorable as Mark Hamill's. Like, I can't think of any other vocal Joker. Like, I know there was another Joker that was, I think, by Keith David or somebody like that.
For the the fighting games.
Yeah.
Justice until Dawn Justice. What's it called?
Dawn of Justice.
Dawn of Justice.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Oh, well, there was another one too. There was an animated Batman where the Joker had dreads. Yeah, search up Joker with dreads. It actually he looks like a meth head. Like, he looks like a rat. I don't know how they made him look like a rat. But he had a decent voice actor, but it wasn't nearly as memorable as Mark Hamill's, which I do agree is the perfect Joker. That laugh is so memorable.
Looks like they mixed Joker with like Lobo and Beetlejuice.
Yeah, doesn't it? It's so weird. And like the voice actor was good. Whoever that voice actor was good. He was memorable enough for me to remember he was a different voice actor. But then like Mark Hamill's Joker, especially from like the Arkham games, those laughs and that voice acting still haunts me as like some of the best that video games has brought to the forefront. And when they tried to redo it with what's his name, Troy Baker, I think it was who they tried to get to replace him in the Origins game, it was bad. It sounded like somebody doing a really shitty impression of Mark Hamill. And
Oh,
it was like an homage to him, but somehow they fucked it all up. And then I was just like, "Oh, Troy, no, Troy, you play generic white man so well in all of your other games. Stop! Don't ruin the Joker. Don't, no, come on, no. If you're gonna do the impression, at least fully commit. Don't half-ass it. Don't make it seem like the from between you and Mark Hamill that the Joker smoked 18 packs of cigarettes a day to finally get to his maniacal self." Are you enthralled by the lore of the Joker, Jimothy?
Lord.
I just wish I knew more about it. Like, I feel bad I can't contribute.
No, it's all good.
I like the Joker IRS meme.
Oh, fair enough.
That is as deep as my interest runs.
Well, to
Like,
give
there's
you,
been so many Jokers.
well, the funny thing is,
don't know
there's
which
only
one's the right
three
one.
Jokers. There's three Jokers from three different universes, and one of them is the corporate maniacal one that we see with Heath Ledger, where he's just trying to take down huge businesses and the mafia and make as much money as he can just to burn it all. He's fucking insane.
Anarchist.
That's it. Anarchy is the word. There's the anarchist Joker. Then there's the gangster Joker, which was played by Jack Nicholson and Jared Leto. And then there's the downtrodden, mentally incapacitated one, which is Joaquin Phoenix's. Which
You're also forgetting about the Silver Age Joker.
oh shit, you're right. So I guess there's four now. Yeah.
The fun, happy-go-lucky, silly cartoon. Shit. What was the mayor of Quahog?
Oh, Adam West.
Adam West.
Yep.
That Batman.
Yeah. I remember that. Okay, so there's actually four now. And,
Isn't there another Joker who just decided he was like done being bad and just became like a normal citizen?
I'm pretty sure that's
Maybe
that's
one
the
of the
one.
weird side books.
I think I think
not
he's
actually
still one of the Jokers, but it's more of a what if storyline. Because I think I thought there was only three, but it turns out there's four. Jack Napier, White Knight. I guess so. Like,
You should listen to Ash. He's a comic book nerd.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll take your word for it. Wait, isn't Jack Napier the one that turned into the Red Mask? Am I thinking of the right Joker?
The Red Mask?
Yeah, or the Red Hood? Sorry, Red Hood, not Red Mask.
No. The Red Hood was a Robin.
No. Red Hood started as the Joker, and then it was passed to him when he kidnapped Jason Todd.
I don't remember. Or I never actually knew because I'm not a comic book nerd.
I remember
Instead of like reading comic books, I was out having sex, or actually probably not, just playing video games.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, they do an alternate timeline kind of story where Batman goes psychotic and just dumps a bunch of pills in the Joker's mouth, and they make him saying what? And they make him saying
Oh,
he goes by
you
Jack
gotta
Napier
turn on
and becomes...
admin whatever mode or mod mode, because I bet there's like a word that it ate there.
No, it usually gives me the little stars.
Oh, okay.
But then it'll typically, it won't censor like that. Weird. Okay. I'm Saint. She just, okay, I see. Saint saying, and he goes by Jack Napier and becomes a force for good in Gotham. Okay, just to fuck with Batman. Okay, so that's the storyline of that Batman.
Yeah.
But
comic books are weird.
Yeah, there's so many storylines because they also, like, Batman's one of the oldest comic books in history too. Started in 1939. Sane makes more sense. Make him Sane. Okay, that makes way more sense. I was like, Saint, okay, saintly, that could work. But yeah, no, that makes sense. That does make sense. But like the Batman's a fascinating one for me anyway, just because like it's showing that even in the world of the superheroes, even the meekest mortal of a human can still play in the big leagues. Essentially, sure, you got to be a billionaire to do it, but I mean,
Meekest mortal of beings who had fucking super elite ninja training from the...
Yeah, but if you take him out of his suit, the first thing that Superman would do would just be to bitch slap him, and he turns into dust. So what I'm saying is, being a human, like a meek mortal compared to them, a human, Like, for him to be able to keep up with them, that just shows that he can give hope to other people that wish they could be as strong as he is. But in all fairness, he's only strong because of his weakness.
He's only strong because of his money. Same thing like, well, not quite like Tony Stark, because Tony Stark is technically, I think it's his high level of intellect is considered like his mutation.
Yeah,
Like
but
he is,
so is Bruce Wayne's.
yeah.
Like
So them
he's that
smart boys.
Yeah, but I mean, I like when you see them physically fight, like Batman versus Superman. In any universe, that suit would not have held up against Clark Kent. But for the movies, it made it look like it could because they had to, pull it. They had to like extenuate what's going on.
Well, but you keep bringing up Superman, and everyone sucks compared to Superman. That's
True.
why I hate Superman.
Mm.
He is just the most worthless character because no one can relate to him because he cannot lose unless he lets himself. There's no circumstance where he should just lose.
Well,
Like he just can't, and they just have to convolute shit to make it so he can. And I fucking hate Superman.
Well,
I have feelings about this.
the funny thing that I find with Superman is the reason he's that way, though, is, well, first of all, he was a Canadian. He was written by a Canadian in Canada. Weirdly enough. But it was because he was written around the start of the war. It was to try to bring people hope that there is something out there that's so strong that not even Hitler or war could touch it. So they basically turned Superman into propaganda to make everybody feel better about the situation around them, to give hope for who was already kind of hopeless. So they just kept that formula going a lot longer than they needed to.
Ugh.
So instead of just recreating the character and changing him to something and evolving him as time went on, they just decided to make everybody else around him evolve to the point where they could figure out ways to hurt him. Because I'm pretty sure when he first was written as a character, he didn't even have kryptonite as a weakness. It wasn't until like the 60s or 70s that they introduced it because they already went through every plot point they could, making him as super powerful as they could. Like, I remember a comic book where there was, I think it was a nuke went off and it killed Batman, and Superman was just standing there absorbing all of it. And he was completely fine as like Batman turned to ash. And I was just like, what is this? What did I find? What is this weird Tumblr bullshit? Like, because I didn't read the comic, right? I just saw that one series of panels and I'm scrolling through it and I'm like, so not even a nuclear bomb does anything to Superman? It makes him stronger because it gives him the same radiation as the yellow sun. So because he gets hit by the nuke, he actually becomes even more of a badass. So it's just like, okay, so what do you use to fight him? Oh, nothing? Great. Fantastic.
This is why the only comic books I read were the Sonic comics.
Oh, God.
Hey. Don't knock the Sonic comics. I fucking love those things. They were stupid and great.
They were, but I can't look at Sonic the same ever since I saw the cartoon. That shit was weird.
Wait, which one?
I can't remember exactly which one, but it was like late 90s, early 2000s era. And the animation was really off and kind of like 3D modelly. It was fucking nightmare. It was so strange looking.
What?
Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing.
Are you thinking of, because there was two Sonic cartoons. There was the weekday one, and then there was the Saturday morning cartoon.
I think it's the Saturday morning.
Where it had like the whole little group. God damn it, get that off my face. People got to see me.
You're right. It's my instinct to go over there. Sonic Saturday morning.
There we go.
Cartoon.
Because that had all the characters from the comic book, like Princess Sally Acorn and Bunny Rabbit.
No, it's not this one.
Okay, so then check the weekday one, because that was like a more slapstick one with the chicken and like
this is the one.
robot.
Yep, Sonic the Hedgehog TV series. This is the one. This one was fucked.
That one was weird.
That was a weird show. And
basically you could look at it like this. The weekday one was like a Nickelodeon show, and the Saturday morning one was like a Cartoon Network show. If you would like separate them like that between the cartoon styles.
I kind of like to think of it as like anime with filler, where the weekday one was just the filler episodes, and on the weekends you got the full release of Dragon Ball Z. That shit was weird. The Extreme Sonic cartoon, I don't think I can. I at least can't do it on stream because I'm pretty sure they'd strike the shit out of that. But if you put it in the Discord, I'll definitely take a look at it. I love cringy shit. So that show ruined Sonic for me, though. Like, because I used to play the games. I used to play the Sega Genesis. I used to play Sonic all the time. And then I watched that cartoon, and ever since then, I was like, I can't. This broke me. this actually broke me from a video game because it ruined so much of the lore for me. I like how we're talking about video games that Jimothy probably hasn't seen in his entire life.
Hang on, I have one that we need to share with the class.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I'm linking this to you. We need to share this with the class. Everyone needs to watch this together.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Bring
no.
it up on the big screen. What's
my God. Yeah. Okay.
What's the saying?
Bring it up on the big screen.
Yeah.
I just gotta make a window for it. Give me a sec. I wasn't
Okay.
expecting this. Add display capture.
Yeah, this
We're doing this on the fly, everybody.
we're doing it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Hey, there's the. I mean, you could have opened it up in like a web tab page.
I could, but then it's
Oh, okay.
A
I like
little
this.
bit-
This will work.
because I don't want it to be like the full screen,
Okay.
but I'll just like leave it right there.
Right
We
there.
can watch
Perfect. All right. Prepare yourselves.
Sexual harassment is no good.
Kids, there's
Where's the sound?
nothing more cool than being hugged by someone you like. But if someone tries to touch you in a place or in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's no good. It's your body. No one has the right to touch you if you don't want them to. So what do? First, you say no. Then, you get out of there. Most important, you gotta tell someone you trust. Like your parents, your teacher, a police officer.
What the fuck? Uh-oh, Jimothy's broken.
That was real.
Oh my God, that is a
That's
nightmare.
no good.
Holy shit. Yeah, Jimothy's internet broke, so he'll be back in a sec.
Yep.
It would have been way funny. Oh, because he left, it changed the camera. Give me 1 sec. Oh. Okay, there we go. Doing some more on the fly stuff. You want to sit back down normally so I can see where I'm at with this?
Okay.
Okay. There we go. Perfect. And then we'll just make this one invisible for now. There we go. But yeah, no, Sonic is... Oh man, that was fucking gold. It would have been funny if he was just like, don't let other people touch you, touch yourself.
But yeah, that was... And Jaleel
Oh
White
my
voiced both
God.
Sonics back in the day.
Oh my God.
So
Oh.
he was doing both cartoons.
I kind of feel bad for him. That doesn't seem like it would be fun. That seems like it would be a nightmare. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't remember that. That was
No.
although that was from that Sonic that you're talking about that made Sonic not cool.
Yeah, like that's the thing is I probably watched like 2 or 3 episodes of that before I was just done. I was never watching that again. And I was also a little kid at the time too.
Mhm.
So I don't remember too much about it. I tried to get it away from my memory. But thankfully it wasn't like one of those things that scarred me for life like Chucky did for me. Because I saw Chucky when I was 6.
Oh.
I had a babysitter that came by and they just put it on because they were like, oh, there's a doll on the cover. And then they just left me in the room watching Chucky. And yeah, so that happened. And then I went to my cousin's house like a year later. This is not the babysitter, by the way. My cousin's house is somewhere completely different. And he had a walking, well, not a walking, but a talking version of the Chucky doll in his
Okay.
basement that if you pulled on it would move its arm up and like do the little stabbing motion and say, you're gonna fucking die. And that's just say that horrified me for a couple years. That one definitely took some time to get over. But
Yikes.
yeah, I mean, if all the things that could have scarred me, thankfully it wasn't Sonic. That'd be the weirdest thing to have PTSD about. Like, I'm sure you remember the movie Mars Attacks.
Yes.
I know somebody who's so scarred by that movie that even just the mention of it gives them a panic attack.
Yeah.
I don't remember much about the movie other than like I think I watched it like maybe 10 years ago, and I remember it being good.
Well,
Um,
we're talking. You mentioned that we talked about Jurassic Park earlier. The first movie, that movie fucked me up.
yeah,
I
because
never saw movies. I never watched movies like that. So that first one, when I watched it, dude, that was fucking scary.
I know. Like that's where I think the perception comes into things, because like Mars Attacks was a mid '90s movie, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. I think it was like '95 or something like that. And the way they made the Martians look and the guns look at that time must have seemed extremely realistic for that time frame. So I
Mhm.
could see why watching it then would fuck somebody up. But then like for me watching it 10 years ago in like the mid 2000s, or yeah, like 2010s, something like that. And just seeing it, I can't perceive that, because I've already surrounded myself with so many other weird things that in comparison that's just nothing in terms of the weirdness scale.
Mhm.
So it's just interesting to see what can and can't fuck you up based on the time that it comes out and like when you actually see it. It's always fun to figure out what scarred somebody for life at a young age, because you get to see what like what they consider scary then isn't as scary to you now.
Well, it's specifically that one though, because the second one, The Lost World, is one of my favorite movies. Fucking
Mm-hmm.
love that movie because
That
that
was a
is
good one.
just a Jeff Goldblum fun ride from
Mm-hmm.
beginning to end.
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong with
Um,
that one.
mhm. But
I
and
think
then
the
the third
third one's
one,
where they lost me.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it was weird. It was like a return to form to like the first one.
The third one's the one where they had the parents that were looking for their son, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that one I don't remember liking very much.
eh.
I remember it
And then
going from like weird kind of mockumentary style kind of filming to well, we're just gonna do a fantasy where our son has been taken to this island with our private butler friend who likes to ride boats with him.
mhm.
I was still I forgot. Oh wait, no, that was the father, right? And then the stepdad and the mom came. Who was he on that island with?
It was the stepdad.
Oh, he was on the island with the stepdad. Okay, so the
Yeah,
stepdad is the one that he went. Okay, I was just like, wait a minute, who was he on that island with if the parents went to go get him? Could you
yeah. The
imagine
parents were
that summer
separated,
camp?
and then they pretended to be like together to go back and get him, and pretended to have like all this money and whatnot. It was like
Oh, that's right.
Kirby Industries or something like that, and and
Nintendo
it turned
sued him
out
and
to
took
just
all his
be
money.
it turned out to be just like Kirby painting tiles plus, and the plus stands for that we do bathrooms too, or
Yep.
some shit like that.
You're bringing back a whole lot of memories on that one now. Jesus. Man, it's hard to believe those movies are as old as they are now.
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah. I'm one of those guys where I like the middle of all the trilogies that I watch. Like most
Mm.
people usually hate the second one of the trilogy, but that like it's always my favorite. I don't know why, but like Empire Strikes Back
Yeah.
obviously is the best one.
Two Towers with Lord of the
Um,
Rings.
Two
That one was
Towers
good.
is the best one. Like that's my favorite one there.
Fuck, Harry
Um,
Potter. The middle of that one, Prisoner of Azkaban. That was like the when they started focusing more on the dark side of Harry Potter compared to the little child shit.
I'm about to give you a hot take.
Mm.
I I think I'm too old because when Harry Potter came out, I was already too ingrained in Dungeons and Dragons. So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, this is bullshit. That's not how magic works. I
Fair.
specifically said that's not how magic
No,
works.
completely
Like
fair.
I knew how magic works.
No, that's not that hard of a take.
Mm,
Like I mean, in fairness, when that movie came out, it was specifically marketed for children.
yeah.
I think that take kind of takes a back seat though around the fourth movie though. Because then it stops focusing on the more childlike whimsical side of what magic can and will be to the more darker side of it. And they focus more on the actual storytelling. But the magic is still bullshit. I agree.
Well,
But
I also always have a huge problem with like secret world stuff. I don't like that like the world exists normal and shitty as it is.
mm,
And then there's also this cool fantastic stuff like either just make the entire world cool and fantastic. And in fact, you just do that. Like I don't like the idea that there's normal world where people don't know about anything like Stargate, the Stargate show.
yeah, I remember that show.
Like it just bugged me. It's like, why bother putting all this on Earth where they don't like even get to know about any of it? It's like I don't like the secret world stuff.
I'm gonna
I like
dis-
to just be known about.
I'm going to disagree for one reason on the Harry Potter side of things, and that's
Mm.
because their fantastical, whimsical world wasn't that great. Like, they made it seem like it was just a place for wizards to not be persecuted. Like, there wasn't any extra benefit to being in that area other than you can just get your supplies that wizards would need. If they had made it where it's like this super, like, over the top mystical place where everything and your wishes come true and everything like that, then I'd agree with you. But it just seemed like a different area where you face the same problems, but they have a different name.
Well, I mean, but like it's still the fact that there was like two separate worlds where one knew about the other, but the other didn't know about one of them.
True,
And
that's fair.
it just seems like it's like why bother having that one that doesn't know? It's
I
like that just yeah.
I will say I don't like that they tried to explain it the way that Men in Black do, where it's because they wipe the memory. Like there was a point in one of the movies, or even in the books too, where
It was the second one.
yeah, the second one where the
Statue of
car was
Liberty.
flying away, yeah, and then they did something to wipe the memories of all those people in that area, and it's just like, oh, what did you do? And they're like, wow, we used our little like fancy like remote memory wipe device. It's like,
Uh,
oh,
uh,
okay.
Neuralizer.
Yeah, that's it, the neuralizer. That's essentially what
Neuralizer.
they used in Harry Potter to make people forget about the wizards. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's how you're going to explain it? Okay, that's kind of a cop-out. But for me personally, I liked their wizard world because it was more close to what I would expect World of Warcraft to be. Like, you wouldn't expect it to be better than the world that you came from. It was kind of on the same level, but just dealt with different problems in different ways, but it had the same amount of, like, give that the regular muggle world would have. Like, your life didn't improve because you went from one side of the shade to the other, if that makes
Well,
sense.
just I didn't like it being two worlds. I thought it would have been
Mm.
better if things were like meshed.
No, understandable. I'm just
Yeah.
saying where my
Yeah.
take is. I'm agreeing with you about 50-50 on it, because for me, I don't mind the two world thing, but I would have cared if it was like, oh, once you cross into this, you get all these magical powers, you can fly everywhere, you can talk to pigeons, stuff like that. If you just got like superpowers just from going from one place to the other, then I'd be like, oh, it's a cop out. This is a kid show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what else was another? The Matrix. I really
Oh,
like
yeah. The second one.
The Matrix Reloaded way better.
I like it way more than the first. The third one was a cop out too. I didn't like the third one as much. I think they took it too far with that movie.
Yeah.
Like was the third one where he had that weird like battle scene with all the agents.
The Dragon Ball Z one, yeah.
Yeah. Once they introduced that, I was like, oh, okay, all right, we gotta stop you now. this is just becoming Superman in black suit. Like, that's all this is. But 2 was way better. 2 was a
2 was great.
phenomenal movie. And it actually I think it got the most shit out of all of them for some reason.
Yeah, usually do.
Yeah, I think the only
don't know.
one that's universally loved by everybody more than the first is Empire. I think that's the only one everybody agrees on.
All right. Have you seen any of the Fast and Furious movies?
Yes, all of them.
Which one is the worst?
Ooh. Man, you've just handed me a pile of shit and said, "Can you find the corn?"
It's everywhere.
Fuck. My guilty pleasure is Tokyo Drift, so I can't say that one. I think it's the one before they introduced The Rock. Fast and Furious, the fourth one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Usually when I say that, people say Too Fast, Too Furious, and I'm like, that's my favorite one.
Too Fast,
I
Too
fucking
Furious
love
was...
Too Fast, Too Furious.
I think they made a mistake making Paul Walker not the main focus of all the movies. I didn't... Like, Vin Diesel can't support a screen as well as Paul Walker could.
Mm-hmm.
Vin Diesel would have been a great side character to have in there, like just be the family and just only show up every once, like for like Thanksgiving or something. But Paul Walker was just more of a commanding presence on the screen, and he fit that role so much better than Vin Diesel fit the main character of that. Because all Vin Diesel was that crazy bald uncle of yours that drank too many beers, didn't know what water was, and maybe bathed twice a week. That's what he was. Paul Walker was a police officer who was trained in this shit and was an undercover guy. He had such a good backstory.
Yeah.
They just didn't capitalize on it. Like Too Fast, Too Furious was one of my favorites of that franchise. Tokyo Drift is like my close second for that. It's not my favorite of the series, but it's definitely a close second.
I didn't watch Tokyo Drift when it was new. I only went back and tried to watch it like last year during COVID when I had nothing better to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get through that movie.
I know.
I found the main character so fucking unlikable and unrelatable. Like, I could not fucking stand this prick bastard who just got everything handed to him. It's like, go fuck yourself with your problems, dude.
Yep. Tokyo Drift, like I said, is a guilty pleasure because I don't feel good putting it on my list. But it's just one of those things that because I watched it when I was so young, it's like ingrained in me. And I love Japan so much that it's just like, Tokyo!
Fucking weebs.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how it is. Yeah, no, Tokyo Drift is one of my guilty pleasures. Too Fast, Too Furious is better than the first one. Then I think all the movies just kind of went downhill. Like now they have one where he like picks up a helicopter. In this movie that's coming up, doesn't he like lift up a car and throw it? And like he drifts a helicopter or some shit?
I don't know. The last one I saw was when they were towing a safe, which I only watched because I watched the making of it first and saw that it was actually done practical. So I'm like, ooh. So I got excited and I watched the movie just like see all the practical effects and be like, ooh.
Damn. Yeah, I think that's the 6th one. And I think they're on the 9th. Yeah. I feel like they missed out on a huge opportunity to call it Fast and the Furious and make them go back in time to drag race Hitler. I mean, just like think of the horrible. I wrote a parody of this too, and I wrote a script and everything, but I thought it was just so fucking atrocious and abysmal how bad I made Hitler look that that I don't think I could get away with it. But then my whole thought process is it's Hitler. Who's gonna defend him? Because like the shit I make him do in that like parody that I wrote, like he has like a weird hot rod that runs off the corpses of the people he's gassed and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I could get away with this.
No.
But then it's like, it's Hitler. Nobody's going to defend him. Nobody's going to like go after him. They're like, oh, this is a risky play if I get this made.
No, what you do is you sell that screenplay to Mel Brooks.
Oh, yes. Oh, God. That he'd turn it into one hell of a comedy. I can see it now. That like... But like, I think they could have done a great job going back in time. Who wants to see them go to the moon? I would love
Fast
to.
And the Furious.
Yeah, it's Fast 9.
Fast 9.
Like that would have been fucking perfect. A black and white Fast and the Furious movie. Vin Diesel being persecuted for being slightly not white enough. And then him going to the German place and his hot rod, which is just like a 1970s Mustang that nobody's ever seen. So they think it's like a future car. And he's just like, I'm here for my family. And then the Hitler's just like, well, who are you? Why are you here? And then he's just like, I challenge you to a drag race. If I win, you stop the war. And then at some point that while they're racing, fucking Vin Diesel goes up, or no, Hitler goes up into the air and crashes through an attic in slow motion. You see Anne Frank and him make eye contact as he busts through the other side. It'd be perfect.
And that's how they find her up
Yeah,
there.
that's how they found her in the attic. It's terrible.
See it so clearly. I'm mad at you for putting this in my head.
That's the problem. Is it's so easy to picture
it
too.
It writes itself.
Doesn't it?
Oh my god.
And like think of how marketable that could be. Like, oh, and how much more options they have for storytelling. They could go drag race T-Rexes if they wanted to at that point. Like if they get that ability to time travel and do that shit, that'd be fucking epic. Him and Bill and Ted could have an excellent adventure in some other universe.
Well,
holy shit.
I'm not sure where we can go from there.
Honestly, that might be a good cutoff point because I have to
Yeah.
go get ready for bed because I got my
Yeah,
vaccine
definitely.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
So for those of you that stuck by us through that, thank you for staying by here. If you haven't already, make sure to follow Oz. Oz, feel free to put your. Well, you beat me to it. Actually,
Oh, oops.
I
Nope,
think that's the video to Sonic.
That's Sonic. Yep, everyone go check it. That's no good.
Just remember, if you get touched, tell somebody. But yeah, no, it was a blast, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for being a guest, Oz. I'd thank Jimothy, but he's disappeared into the internet verse.
Yep.
His parents got tired.
Raid someone?
Yeah, we can raid somebody. You got anybody in mind?
Do you know Torquenut?
Yes, I do. I think I've
let's go
seen
check
him
out
in.
Torquenut.
I think I've seen him in the Discord a couple times.
Yeah, he's cool. He's a cool dude.
Is he streaming right now?
He is, or well, at least he was. Let me refresh the page. He might have moved on because fucking advertisement again. Quit making me watch your stupid ads. Oh, now I'm only gonna watch an ad on his. God damn it!
So many ads. All right, let's see here. Where's my raid button?
It should just be /raid.
Is that all I have to do? I had a button for it.
Yeah, no, just /raid in their name.
Oh shit. Okay. How do you spell his name?
TORQNUT.
TORQ?
Yep.
Okay.
NUT, all one word.
Do I have to put a space in the /raid?
/raid space Torquenut.
Okay. /raid space torque nut. I think I spelled that right.
Yep.
Is it doing it? Perfect.
All right. Well, this was.
It was a blast. I enjoyed having you here.
It was fun being here.
Perfect.
We touched on some things together.
And if Sonic tells you to tell somebody about it, you make sure you tell somebody about being touched.
You listen to Sonic. You do what Sonic says.
Sonic knows about being
that
touched.
segment is actually called Sonic Says.
It's true. And you always got to do what Sonic says. He'll follow you home and you won't even see it. All right. Well, thank you all so much for stopping by. I'll see you all next time. Love you guys. Bye.